Good morning, everybody. Take two here on the Batter Round. I'm Paul Valley. He's Zach Goodman. We're here live from our studios in Towson to bring you another edition of the Batter Round. Today's show brought to you by PressBox Offers. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers now and get $150 in bonus bets from DraftKings after placing your first $5 bet. See this and other great sportsbook offers at PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Zach, good morning to you.
Good morning.
A little bit of technical difficulties there,
always something. Always something.
We called our old pal Griffin, and we were able to get everything sorted. And
apparently, so when these programs restart in the middle of the night, they often change settings that we have no idea how to go about it. So Griffin's seen this enough times where
we have no idea.
We have no idea. Griffin does. Griffin knows.
I used to have an idea, but I forgot.
Griffin's here every day, so he knows the ropes with this. But we got the setting figured out and found, so we're good to go.
Figured out, found, and up and running. Orioles not up and running last night. Mustered just 2 hits in the ball game, losing to the Tampa Bay Rays 3-0. Zach Eflin, 7 innings of 2 hits, shutout.
Like his best start of the year.
Maybe his best start ever. He was absolutely fantastic last night. Kyle Bradish, to me, there was a lot of hard contact, but he wiggled out of trouble. I don't think he had his best stuff last night, but that's what an ace of your staff does. And make no mistake about it, Kyle Bradish is the ace of this staff.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
6 innings of 2-run ball. He gives up just the 6 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, in allowing those 2 earned runs. Team collects 2 hits, 1 walk, strikes out 14 times, including 10 times looking. And now, look, I understand that the strike zone was not great last night. I get it. Lots of low strikes called.
Oh, yeah.
It seemed like especially on the Orioles. And no, the people that say, well, you don't want to change your approach. Yeah, you don't want to get yourself into a bad habit of swinging at bad pitches, but you've also got to understand that these pitches are close enough that with 2 strikes in a close ball, you got to be hacking.
Well, there's some guys in the lineup, and I'm talking to you, Colton Cowser, that were taking pitches that were pretty right there. And there were a few guys, but more specifically Gunnar Henderson, I think, took a few low strikes that just really were questionable. Ryan Mountcastle, same thing. A few really low strikes that were really questionable. So it was kind of mixed up and down the lineup, but I wouldn't say... It was a very low strike zone last night.
One of the biggest irritants when I'm watching baseball games is watching an Orioles hitter fall behind 0-1, and then on 0-2, and then on 0-1, they take a fastball right down the chute and don't swing. And
Austin Hayes used to do that constantly.
He still does. There's
no
used to. He still does it. Yet last night in particular, there was a sinker that was a foot inside, and Hayes was ripping away, and he obviously swung right through it. Because how do you hit a pitch that's at your knee? That's literally at your actual knee, right? Next pitch, inside corner, clearly a strike, and he's not swinging, right? But that's not the one I'm talking about. Adam Frazier was down 0-1, and he took a fastball right down the middle, about chest high at 94 miles an hour, not swinging. And now you're in an 0-2 hole. You've already gotten the best pitch, the most hittable pitch that you're going to get in the at-bat. And it was a microcosm for the evening.
Yeah.
At some point, you've got to say, look, I cannot strike out looking again.
Yeah.
I've got to give my team a chance.
Right.
Ryan O'Hearn, in the last at-bat of the game, you just watched 2 guys strike out looking. Swing the bat.
Yeah.
And I'm not just singling him out. Everybody,
nobody swung the bat last night.
Everybody on the team. I put out a tweet joking around last night saying, I think the Orioles' offensive strategy on Saturday should be to swing sometimes.
Yeah.
I have never seen... It was mind-numbing.
Yeah.
How does a team collectively strike out 10 times looking?
And to put it on a more individual focus, I think Colton Cowser is struggling with the same thing that Gunnar Henderson was struggling with early in the year, where you're a patient hitter in the minor leagues, but in the minor leagues it's easier to hit bad pitches than it is at the major league level. That's just simply the truth. Colton Cowser and Gunnar Henderson struggle with the same thing where they're being, frankly, too patient. It's great to be patient. It's great to get on base at a 350 level, especially at the AAA level, which what those guys were doing. And Colton Cowser was more like 400 at the AAA level. But at the major league level, it's not always going to transfer and translate to that. So he's got to be less patient, got to get the bat off his shoulder, and swing at pitches that are actually good strikes.
I think that it's not so much. It's not being overly patient. They're guessing.
Yeah. Well, sure.
Gunnar Henderson, we saw the first month and a half, was guessing up there. And that's why he's taking pitches. Cause I think he has no idea what's coming.
Right.
All right. And that's why he was so late on fastballs to start the season. It's the same thing with Cowser. He's whiffing through 94. He has no idea what's coming.
Right.
He's going to break out of it.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to. And, if he does it in the same fashion that Gunnar Henderson did, he's going to be breaking out of it right for the home stretch.
I think one of the things is that when you're struggling like this, you almost become afraid of striking out. You don't want to be the guy who's striking out, because then if you do that 4 times a game, people are going to start to jump on your back more. In case, if you're popping the ball up, flying out, whatever, and you're not getting on base, that's one thing. But if you're striking out, and I think guys become afraid of that. I think Gunnar was afraid of that. I think Colton Cowser right now is afraid of that. Yeah. So he just sits up there and hopes to take pitches and get ahead in the count. That's what I think is happening. Well, to some degree.
I don't know the professional hitters are ever afraid of striking out. I think
when you're trying to make an impression on the team like Colton Cowser is right now.
But it's human nature, right? It's human nature when you join a new team, you get promoted, you want to make an impression. So I get that. There is that human element to it. But they know that they're there for a reason.
Yeah.
And Colton Cowser's been a good hitter his entire life. He's going to figure it out. You know what I mean? I don't know that he's afraid of striking out. I think he's facing pitching that's harder than anything he's ever faced. And we saw last year when he got to AAA how much he struggled when he got there. Mm-hmm. And he figured it out this year. The same thing's happening to him at the big league level. I don't think it's going to take till next year for him to figure it out. He's got the big league hitting coaches working with him every single day.
Yeah.
He's got to play every day because Cedric Mullins is out. And Cedric Mullins' injury, they thought that he might not have to go on the IL. Now it's a 4 to 8 week injury. And when he was talking in his interview 2 days ago, he said that he hopes to be back before the end of the season.
Yep.
And so now it's like, how did this become? We don't even know that he has to go on the IL. And now it's I hope to be back before the end of the season. Which could be a huge coup for the Orioles down the line, getting a guy like Cedric Mullins back for your playoff run, who's going to be fresh too. But that's neither here nor there. That's something we can talk about down the road. But Cowser's going to have to play every single day. The bat's going to come around.
Sure.
It's going to come around, and when it does, it's going to be so much better for the Orioles because he'll be able to take it's going to be like maybe Gunnar Henderson light. I don't know, because I think Gunnar has more power, although we did see Cowser hit that 476-foot bomb in spring training. But the talent's there. It's going to come around. I'm not concerned at all. Also not concerned about Shintaro Fujinami. The Orioles trade for him. They trade Easton Lucas for Fujinami. If you recall, Easton Lucas came over for Jonathan Villar following the 2019 season. Posted a .293 ERA, 11.3 Ks per 9 between AA and AAA this year. He goes over to the Athletics. In return, the Orioles get Mount Fuji. He stands 6'6", hits 102 with his fastball, upper 90 splitter. Had an 8.57 ERA at the time of the acquisition. It's 9 with the Orioles. Yeah. 14.40 ERA after his first 4 Major League appearances. All starts, all losses. Moves to the bullpen. 3.32 ERA since May 27th, .293 with 1 walk, 17 Ks in 13 outings, covering 15 and the third innings pitched since June 13th, excluding last night's outing. First pitch he throws in the north, I felt so freaking bad for him.
Oh, I did too.
The first pitch he throws from 99 outer third, and Jose Siri just wallops. He ambushed him. Yeah. Wallops a home run over the left field fence to make it 3-0. And then Fujinami, the next 3 batters, he gets him out in dominating fashion. Yeah. I believe he had 2 Ks in there and looked like a guy who's going to be an elite arm for the Orioles. I was so pleasantly surprised at the Twitter sphere's reaction to this. I thought people were going to be coming. Apparently, people on Facebook came after him.
Well.
But, yeah, it's Facebook. People on Twitter, though, they watched the game. They didn't overreact. They saw that it was a good pitch that he just got ambushed on, and then he was dominant. And if he's going to be the guy, they got the next 3 guys out, that's going to be huge for the Orioles moving down. I like this acquisition because he's the exact type of arm that the Orioles over the last 2 years have helped flourish. And you look no further than Felix Bautista and Yennier Cano,
right?
Who have come to this system, maybe a little bit erratic, throw hard, but they have the stuff that's just incredible. And now they're elite relievers.
I didn't see him throw a bad pitch.
Yeah.
I really didn't. That entire inning, I mean, the Jose Siri home run was 99.4 miles per hour on the outside corner. That's just Jose Siri being a good hitter and knowing what's coming. You talked about the Orioles hitters guessing. He wasn't guessing. He knew it was coming, and he got it.
Yeah, and
he made him pay.
That's what Jose Siri does.
Yeah,
it's either a home run or nothing.
Yeah, he's not great.
Yeah, he's not a good hitter.
No,
he can hit a fastball.
Yeah, and he's a good center fielder, a very athletic guy. But look, I again, the splitter was at 93, 94. It looked excellent. Looked every bit as good as Felix Bautista's splitter. It was really, really quite good. The fastball, if he's going to live at 99, 100, I saw him hit 102. I think it was his second pitch, hit 102. I'll take that every day. This is a live arm, an electric arm. A guy who's got really good stuff. The slider looked really good. He didn't throw any for strikes, I don't think. I don't believe he threw a slider for a strike, but it looked like he might be able to actually use that for strikes at another time. It didn't look like he...
Here's the thing with a slider, with a really good slider...
It's going to break out of the zone.
And you don't need to throw it for a strike.
Sure.
You need to throw it so it looks like it's going to be a strike till it isn't.
Exactly.
And that's a competitive 0-2 pitch.
So to rephrase, he didn't get a swing on the slider yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't believe he did, at least. And then the splitter fastball, that's kind of his bread and butter, I think. Again, kind of like that Felix Bautista profile, as you just mentioned. The Orioles have done great things with those kind of profiles. Yennier Cano is not that much different, pretty similar. It's a really good pickup. I think second to the Kyle Bradish trade, where Mike Elias got Kyle Bradish for Dylan Bundy, who was at that point kind of a washed up nobody.
I mean, he did pitch really well for the Angels after that trade.
A couple months he did.
For the 2020 season, he was really good.
A couple months he pitched pretty well. But you look at Kyle Bradish, and now he's arguably a number one pitcher in this league. He's quite good.
He's the ace of the staff.
Right. So behind that trade, I think this is one of the best trades Mike Elias has made, because you're you're giving up nothing. Easton Lucas is having a good year in AAA, but he's like 26.
Yeah, and he's Rule 5 eligible.
He's not that much of a player.
I mean, Fujinami's 29, so...
Fujinami's 29, but he pitched really well in Japan for a number of years, and then, right now he's been on a stretch for about a month and a half, 2 months that's been really quite good. So it's a very high reward, low risk signing, and I like that.
Yeah, I like the move, and I think it's... If we were expecting the Orioles to go out and get one of those big name relievers, I don't know that you can expect that. Right, because... how much you're going to have to give up for a Scott Barlow or a Jordan Hicks or insert name here, like a Kyle Finnegan, right? Yeah. But you went out and you got a guy who you can turn into something that's elite. Now he's a free agent after this year. He's on a $3 million. Was it $3.2 million?
$3.25, yeah.
$1 million contract. Like I said, it expires at the end of the year. And this is a guy that the Orioles, if he's really good for them, maybe they can sign him for next year and it won't cost him a ton of money. And then you look at. I guess you kind of want to see what they're going to do from here. Are they going to get another reliever? Do they need to go get another reliever? Cianel Perez was really good last night. And when he came back in his last outing, it was his first outing back. There's probably some nerves there saying, you know what, I got to prove that I belong here again. He was really good last night. If that's Cianel Perez, I need to see him do it a couple more times. He's going to get 3 or 4 more opportunities before the deadline. I think that the Orioles may be able to turn their focus towards a starting pitcher.
I would hope so.
And so then it becomes, who are they going to go after? Because the rumors out there that the Orioles are talking to teams about starting pitching. And you're not going to go out and try and get who's a pitcher who would be... I would think a Michael Lorenzen would not be the type of pitcher that the Orioles should go after.
I wouldn't.
Because you've already got 3 of those guys in your rotation.
Mitch Keller's a guy you're maybe thinking of. That they wouldn't. They're not going to be able to get Mitch Keller.
No. When I'm saying who's a guy, I'm talking about like a guy that you wouldn't want. A guy that
a guy you wouldn't want.
A guy that doesn't improve your team. That's available that people keep talking about. To me, that's Michael Lorenzen. You've already got that guy.
I will say, Eduardo Rodriguez has pitched well for a few years now. Actually, quite a while. But I'm not sure, based on he kind of left the Tigers for a little while. There were some things going on. He's been injured over the years. I'm not sure I want that. I'm not sure I'm so on board for Eduardo Rodriguez. Yeah. I don't know. It's like a...
Is Lucas Giolito a guy that you think is a guy you can slot at the top of your rotation?
What are his numbers this year? Because last year...
His ERA is about like 3.6, 3.7. He's having a decent year. But...
Glenn's calling me back, so I'm just going to quickly answer this. And
no, don't answer it. Just hit ignore and text him.
Shoot him a text.
Yeah, you don't need to. You don't need to answer him while we're on the air.
Well, I want to tell him what's going on.
No, you can text him or call him during the break. We don't have to answer while we're on the air.
I'll shoot him a text.
But yeah, Lucas Giolito's having a fine season. Is he a guy that you can look at and say that's an ace? I don't think he is. I think if you're looking to get an ace, if you're looking to get a guy that puts you over the top, that guy's got to be Marcus Stroman. That guy's got to be Sonny Gray. It's got to be somebody. I mean, you're looking at him. Oh, he's Lucas Giolito is 6-6 with a 3.96 ERA.
Okay. All right.
He's allowed 20 home runs, so that's not good. He's got 122 strikeouts to 39 walks. So the 39 walks, that's good. You like to see that. It's less than 2 walks per inning. He's got a 1.198 WHIP in 116 innings pitched. So he's on pace to probably set a career high for innings pitched this year.
I'll take it, but here's my problem with this: that division. I think a lot of these numbers are probably skewed by the fact that he plays Cleveland, he plays Kansas City, he plays the Twins. These are not good lineups for the most part. Lineups that have really not hit all year. So the numbers, he faces the AL East, the numbers are probably going to be jacked up by quite a bit.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you there.
These numbers, by the way, are kind of similar to what Cole Irvin came over with, and Cole Irvin has significantly struggled more against the AL East than he did in the AL West because it's better bats.
I think that you can, I think that you can say with confidence that Giolito is a better pitcher.
I think so.
Than Cole Irvin. So that stuff doesn't really bother me. I just don't think you've seen enough consistency with Giolito this year, or for that matter, his entire career. He went from being a Cy Young candidate a couple of years ago to having a near 5 ERA last year, and then this year his ERA is right around 4. That's not a guy, in my opinion, that puts the Orioles over the top. You want to put the Orioles over the top, you got to go out and get yourself, like I said, a Marcus Stroman. I think Eduardo Rodriguez puts you in that air, honestly. You're not getting Corbin Burns because the Brewers are in first place. I don't really think that. Are you going to go out and get Alex Cobb or Anthony DeSclafani? Probably not, because the Giants.
No interest.
The Giants are leading the wild card. Are you going to be able to get Shane Bieber from the Cleveland Guardians? 1, he's on the injured list, and 2, they're only 2 games back in the division. So there's not going to be a ton of starting pitching options out there for you. Can you go get Verlander from the Mets? Is that somebody you want to bring in? Because the Mets, they're 18 games out of first place. They're 6 games under 500. Buck's getting fired at the end of the year if he doesn't get fired during, right? I have to believe that their season is just about over. Can you go get? I mean, Max Scherzer's got a 3.99 ERA, but they're not going to trade him. They just signed him. He and Verlander are basically the same guy at this point. Can you get a Justin Verlander? Can you get a Max Scherzer? Would they be willing to part with a Kodai Senga? I don't know. My attention is really focused on Marcus Stroman. That's the guy I want.
I just don't think it's happening.
The Orioles have more to give than anybody else, and if you could give up somebody who's never going to play for you. Joey Ortiz is never going to be the Orioles starting shortstop. This is his best opportunity to be their starting shortstop, and he's not. So he's never going to play for you.
Yeah.
Connor Norby may never play for you. Cesar Prieto is never going to play for you. You could trade
all possible.
You could trade all 3 of those guys, and maybe an Armbruster or a Cade Povich, and get yourself Cody Bellinger and Marcus Stroman for the stretch run here, and that puts you over the top. That absolutely puts you over the top. And your package that you're offering, those guys instantly become the top prospects in the Cubs organization. You're able to give up guys who aren't going to see the field for you at the big league level, and your package is still better than what any other team is going to offer. Because no team's going to offer their number 1 overall prospect for Marcus Stroman. They're not going to do that when he's a rental. But the Orioles can offer their number 7 and their number 11 and their number 17 prospect and pull off a trade like that.
I don't believe it because I haven't seen the Orioles do it. So until they make a move like this, I'm not going to have reason to believe they're going to make one.
And that's fair.
Like I want to see,
but the reason that you've never seen it is because the Orioles have never been here.
Right, but let me explain what I mean. Shintaro Fujinami, I think, is the perfect Orioles move. That's the move that Mike Elias is going to like making. He didn't give up basically anything, and he got high reward out of it.
No, I understand.
It's high reward, but for very low risk. That's the kind of moves they're going to make.
Well, that move doesn't put you over the top.
No, it doesn't.
If you're looking to acquire a starting pitcher, and everybody knows that the Orioles are looking for starting pitching right now, he's not going to be able to pull a rabbit out of the hat at this deadline.
No, he's not
to do that.
But again,
if he's looking for a starting pitcher that's going to be better than anything that they have right now, then it's not going to happen.
I don't disagree.
I cannot imagine that this guy, that Mike Elias, is even attempting to pull a rabbit out of the hat right now in that situation, because it's not going to happen. So for me, if you're actually serious about getting a starting pitcher, then Mike Elias knows it's going to take giving up a package. And if you're giving up a package that's never going to play for you, what's the holdup?
I'm totally in agreement with you here. I'm just projecting what I think Mike Elias might do, and I think they might make more moves like completely under the radar moves, such as Fujinami. I think that's the kind of moves they.
Yeah, but those we're saying the same thing again. It's not an under.
I know
you're not going to get an under the radar move that's going to have an impact after this. For a for a reliever like Fujinami, yes. For a starting pitcher or for a bat, no, that's not going to happen. We're running in circles.
Look
here.
at what the Orioles have done with Cano. You would never have thought last year that Cano might have made an impact this year, like the way he has.
But again, he's a reliever.
Okay,
we're talking about a starting pitcher.
I understand that.
They can't make a low risk, high reward move for a starting pitcher that's going to impact them and get them over the hump in this division and for a playoff run. That's not going to happen.
I don't know if we know that 100%.
No, we 100% know that, Zach. That's not going to happen. Who are you gonna get?
Well, I'd have to look into the numbers more. But
what starting pitcher that would be available? And I'm not coming at you. I'm just trying to get you to think logically here. What starting pitcher are you going to get at the deadline that's going to slot at the top of your rotation and be able to start game one of a playoff series for a hill of beans?
I don't think that's possible. But I do. Again, you're not going to pull out a number one ace starter out of that. But you can pull a guy out who's going to help you. And I think that's what they're going to try to do. Shintaro Fujinami is not a back-end closer with with the stuff of Felix Bautista and the experience of Bautista in that role either. But he's a guy who can definitely help you in those middle relief innings, and I think they're going to try to find someone like that in the starting pitching role.
They can't.
I don't think Marcus Stroman is realistic. I just don't.
The person that you're talking about, that's why I'm trying to get you to think logically, that person doesn't exist. There's not a starting pitcher that...
Then the Orioles are not going to make a move like that.
Well, exactly. If you're trying to find a guy who isn't a big name yet that's going to help you in your rotation, there's no point because you already have 4 of those guys. You already have that guy in your starting rotation. Don't make a move. It's a lateral move.
But the Kyle Gibson move, signing him for $11 million in the offseason, is a guy they thought they could turn around, and they somewhat have. I mean, he's having a better year than he did last year with the Phillies, and in arguably a tougher hitting division than what the Phillies play in the NL East. I think that is the kind of guy, the veteran, who maybe they can try to get one more good season out of or squeeze something else out of is what they're going to try to do. That's again my point. And maybe that's the wrong move. I agree with you. I'd love to see Marcus Stroman an Oriole. I just don't know that Mike Elias is going to go there.
See, and that's the thing. If they're not going to trade for that guy, it's either they're going to go get an elite starting pitcher or they're not making a trade for a starting pitcher. That's what I'm trying to get through to you, is they're not going to look for that guy like a Kyle Gibson because they already have that guy. Well, they have like 3 of those guys.
If you get Desclafani, actually, let me back up. If you get Jordan Montgomery, I think he's like a solid 3 or 4 in a rotation, and that would be adding to your rotation. I think that's a good move, a productive move.
Right, but Jordan Montgomery he's got an ERA in the low 3s. There's one Oriole that has an ERA there. To me, that's a legitimate move. Jordan Montgomery isn't the guy that you're describing. Jordan Montgomery is a solid number 2. You're describing a guy that's at his height a number 3.
Well, I guess he's the number 2 in the Orioles, but I wouldn't say he's the number 2 league-wide.
I mean, a guy that can give you 6 innings of 1 to 2 run ball every time out, that's a good pitcher.
Yeah, he's a good pitcher.
You know what I mean? But the Orioles, The pitcher that you're thinking that the Orioles, that Mike Elias would go after is essentially Dean Kramer, Cole Irvin, or Kyle Gibson. They already have those guys.
I mean, they acquired 2 of them this offseason. So that's the data I'm going off of.
Right.
That's what I'm just trying to say.
But that was after being 4 games over 500.
Yeah.
They're 20 games over 500 and tied for first place in the toughest division in baseball. That move doesn't make sense right now because that doesn't make you any better. It doesn't make you any better.
Well, let me ask you this then. And I know, do we have to get Orestes on the phone?
I texted him. Okay.
A little bit. Do you think Kyle Gibson has made the Orioles better this year?
He had a nice 8 or 9 start stretch where he did.
Mm-hmm.
He's made them better than what Jordan Lyles would have done.
Yeah,
but
I
I
agree
think
with that.
you can make an argument that Jordan Lyles was better last year. Jordan Lyles.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't trust.
But he certainly hasn't been this year.
Well, yeah, worst team, worst coaching staff. I mean,
but also worst division. Worst
I
competition.
saw somebody tweet out last night that the Kansas City Royals have been really bad for 5 years and have picked in the top 10. The top 10 in the draft for 5 years, and they have 0 top 100 prospects. So that organization is not really run that well, and you can see why Jordan Lyles with a 7 ERA and 12 losses, and just 1 win. But I think Kyle Gibson has done what you asked him to do, but I don't think anybody expected him to make the Orioles better this year. The Orioles are better
I wouldn't say I would have predicted
because
that.
Tyler Wells and Kyle Bradis took that next step in their rotation,
Mm-hmm.
and Felix Bautista is a dark horse Cy Young candidate as your closer. Yennier Cano came out of nowhere. Gunnar and Adley are leading this team. That's why the Orioles are better this year.
Well, let me put it another way then, and I'll get him on the phone after this, but let me put it another way. Right now, they don't really have a 5th starter. Grayson Rodriguez might be that guy. He pitched okay last time out. It wasn't terrible. He gave up 4 earned runs. He's going today. Cole Irvin's kind of been moved to a bullpen role. That 5th starter spot, if it's not Grayson Rodriguez, is wide open. Wide open. So if you add a guy of the level of Kyle Gibson and just like I said, try to squeeze just a little more out of him, maybe he's a veteran in his late 30s, whatever it is, that's still, to me, a productive addition to this team because we don't know what we're going to get out of Grayson Rodriguez for the next 2 months.
Well, and I think that's why I think it was a very strategic move for them to call Grayson up last week when they did.
Sure.
Because now he's going to get 2 or 3 starts before the deadline gets here, maybe 4 before the deadline gets here, and now you're going to be able to see, is this a guy who's going to help us in our rotation?
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, he gave up 4 runs. He didn't give up 4 runs.
Well, right, Brian Baker.
Brian Baker gave up a grand slam with 2 outs after going 0-2 to Hayward and walking him, and then going 0-2 and throwing the same pitch 5 times in a row to Chris Taylor, who deposited for a grand slam. That's on Brian Baker. It's on Jordan Hicks for jumping for a ball that had no bit. He didn't need to jump for. When he jumped, he then tried to catch the ball like at mid-rib level.
Yeah.
And it goes for a triple. And Adam Frazier doesn't make a play that every Major League second baseman should have made in the 4th inning, and that guy ended up scoring with 2 outs.
Yeah.
That Grayson Rodriguez, in my estimation, should have been pitching in the 6th inning with a shutout. But instead, his final line says, he gave up 4 runs in 5 innings because his defense let him down, and then his bullpen couldn't hold.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
Yeah.
Grayson Rodriguez's line looks like that. What Grayson Rodriguez was doing, 100, 101 miles an hour, down in the zone, hitting the corners, that was the best I've seen his stuff.
It was the best. I think it was his best start. Really, again, just kind of killed by Brian Baker and what he came in and did. But I also, the one other thing about Grayson we have to consider here is that he's not going to throw that many innings this year. And he'll probably be shut down at some point.
They're not going to shut him down. They're going to limit his innings.
He's still 23. They're worried about what he.
Mike Elias has said we want to monitor these guys' innings so we don't have to shut them down.
Oh, okay. So he's going to pitch probably. If he starts though, that's you're guaranteeing 4 innings and not much more.
Well, but he also said that there's no real data that suggests that a lot. He said this at the beginning of the year. That he said that there's no real data that suggests that a certain number of innings is a limit for a guy where you have to shut him down. So I think they're going to take it on a case by case basis. I don't know that they're going to be shutting anybody down. I think that the Nationals did that in 2012 with Steven Strasburg, and I thought that was so stupid. It was so stupid because he was clearing away their best pitcher, and it cost them in the playoffs. And I don't think that the Orioles should be in the business of shutting anybody down, especially when you have this opportunity. You don't get many opportunities to be a legitimate World Series contender.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that Mike Elias is going to say in mid-August, all right, Grayson, you're done for the year. They're not going to do that. They'll move him to the bullpen, and maybe that's why they're going to go and acquire another starter. We got to call Orestes. Give Orestes a call. I want to address the Shohei Ohtani rumors. The Orioles could put together the best package possible for Shohei Ohtani and still give up the least considering what they have in their system. It ain't happening, guys. They're not going to be trading for Shohei Ohtani because he's not signing here. He's a 2-month rental, and you can get a lot more. It's hard to say you can get a lot more. He's the best freaking player in the world. But to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to give up half of your farm system for a guy that's only going to be here for 2 years, for 2 months, maybe hopefully 3 if he's getting you deep into the playoffs. And let's not forget that Ohtani has his last 4 starts, he has not been good. Yeah, last night he went 6 1/3, he struck out 9. He gave up 4 home runs to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Gave up 5 runs. I love Shohei Ohtani. If the Orioles found a way to get him here for 2.5, 3 months, it would be freaking awesome. I'm not holding my breath. This is Zach is like they have to prove to me they're going to go out and get a guy like a Marcus Stroman. I think they could do something like that. Getting Shohei Ohtani, it ain't happening. That's not happening in Baltimore.
Definitely not happening.
We would love it. You get the best player in the world on the team with the best record in the American League for the final 2 months of the season, then a playoff run. Oh my God, we'd be running nude in the streets. But it ain't happening. It ain't happening. With that in mind, he used to cover the Rays for Fox Sports Florida. He is now an ambassador for the Seibu Lions in the I almost called them the Nebu Lions. For the Seibu Lions in the Japanese League. He is Orestes Destrade, and he is joining us live on the Battleground. Orestes, welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for taking some time for us today.
Good to be on there, Paul. Right away, I come on as I get clicked on. I'm hearing you guys talk and saying Shohei Ohtani to Baltimore. That's what's going to happen. It's pandemonium. I don't think so.
No. We were saying it's not going to happen.
I know. I'm kidding.
I got you.
It's not going to happen, but it'd be. I mean, anybody to pick up that kid would be pandemonium, but it would be just otherworldly. But the reality is that whoever, even if he does get traded, which is kind of questionable, I think it would be to a team that's definitely not going to be a rental. Doesn't make any sense. It will be to a team that is planning to keep him, and I'm sure the moment that if in fact a trade does go down, it will be a team that would start negotiating with his agent and not even get the free agency and say what is it going to take. So, but beyond that, it's good to be on your show, and it sure has been quite the interesting year so far.
It absolutely has. The Rays get out to that 13-0 start through 33 games or 27-6, but 34-34 in the 68 games since then. You have Jeffrey Springs and Drew Rasmussen on the IL. I believe they're both done for the year. They DFA'd Yanni Chirinos. The last time we had you on the show, we were talking about him being part of their starting rotation. Offense is top 5 in almost every statistical category. First 3 months of the year, 5.6 runs per game. In July, that number's down to 3.3. Has this team all gone cold at the same time? Are you concerned about them? They've been playing 500 ball for 2 months.
And July has been atrocious. So even, the 500 balls is actually okay, but they've been obviously, they've just won, a couple of games in the last couple of weeks, or 3 or 2 since the All-Star break. So, and they came into the All-Star break off of a win, but also off of a 6-game losing streak. Here's the deal, and I told you I was going to explain a theory that I have, and it is not the Rays' fault by any chance. It is not MLB's fault by any stretch. Can't even sneak in the crowd hating at times the Houston Astros with this theory. But if you think about it, and I don't think it's happened ever in the history of spring training, but because of Hurricane Ian, the Rays were the only team to be able to host at home throughout spring training. So other than, I think, one little blip of a series that they took home over in Orlando at Wildwater Sports, everything else was played under the roof at Tropicana Field. That's a massive advantage that you have especially as an offensive hitter, as a hitter, because in spring training, first of all, you come in behind the 8 ball already, and secondly, you got to leave spring training and then travel wherever your team is, north most of the time, and then get accustomed to the box at your ballpark, the kind of the view behind the pitcher of center field, the whole thing. I don't care how much of a veteran or rookie you are, still an adjustment for those first couple of weeks of the season. And hitters usually struggle. Just in general, out of the gate, this team did not. They went nuts, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that offensively, they went into the season so comfortable at their home plate, home base, home team. Add to that the caveat that there was no moving. There was no need for the general core of them to have to uproot from spring training, get settled in a new, their house, home, whatever, apartment, get their family in, worry about their kids. All of that was already taken care of all throughout the month of March.
It's true.
And February. And I think that played a huge advantage to the Rays. Really not their fault or the league's fault. It just happened because of Ian.
Yeah, it's an excellent point that they don't have to go through what all the other teams have to go through. They're already comfortable. They're staying at their own place the entire spring. It makes perfect sense that would help them get off to a hot start. Not to mention the fact that they played the league's worst teams the entire the first half of April.
But their offense was just otherworldly
yeah.
in that month. That was just I was kind of scratching my head, going like, holy cow! I mean, they're just crushing everybody, and that's usually not the case. It's one thing to jump out to a hot start and win and have some great pitching, but it was their offense really that kind of surprised me. And when you look back at what they hit in April, it was 284, with an 885 on base percentage. I mean OPS. Then it went to 253, but still like at around a 778, OPS. Then it started dropping, 740. Now they're at 650 for July. So there's no doubt that it's kind of the field is evening up on them a little bit. But they're still a team to be leery of. Obviously, once again, the injury bug, especially to their arms, it seems like it's an annual thing for them, but it's an annual thing that they overcome. So I still think that they're extremely strong with 1, 2, 3. McClanahan's going today. Obviously you've seen what Eflin can do. He's been a great pickup every year. They have that one, veteran pickup they've had the last several years. And then you've got Glass now that is still trying to, get into that true great form as as he's back now just for, several weeks. So I think their 1, 2, 3 could be as formidable as anybody.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt that they have the best rotation in the American League to this point. You mentioned the offense, and I remember Randy Arozarena and Yandy Diaz each had 9 home runs at the end of April. And Diaz, his career high in home runs is 14. He's already got 13. Arozarena has hit 20 the last 2 years. He's already at 17. They have 8 guys that have 10 home runs or more on their team right now. The offensive numbers have absolutely been fantastic, but if you look at it, a lot of those numbers were put up in April and the beginning of May, and they've dropped off since then. But this is a good Rays team, and this is a Rays team that's better than they were last year, in my opinion. They're not going anywhere. It's going to be a haymaker for haymaker between them and the Orioles the rest of the way. We look at the Orioles. In Baltimore, we watch them every day, and we know that there's something special about this team. How do people outside of Baltimore see the Orioles? Are they viewed as legitimate? Are they believed to be the real deal? And what do they need to do to keep pace in this AL East? And what do you think that they need to make a big splash at the deadline to do so?
Well, number one, the first part, I mean, the young core of this team has been coming on, especially offensively.
Mm-hmm.
You could say, you're not completely surprised that they're doing what they're doing. When you look at Santander, obviously, you go, Rushman's been huge addition, not only offensively, but really kind of becoming that true, what like Matt Weeder didn't really ascertain and reach to, a power hitting, switch hitting catcher that could control, the whole rotation and the whole pitching core. He seems to be a leader. He seems to be that. You're getting Frazier. Love what he's doing. Obviously, Mountcastle I've been a fan of for a while. Everybody's kind of pitching in. You got the veteran in Mullins. A little bit here and there. The pitching, where you're going to have a question mark is that middle relief. And yesterday it kind of showed his face again with Fuji. Not that he got the loss. He just gave up the track there to extend the lead. But Fujinami, the kid from the Hanshin Tigers, who's a big, tall, lanky, hard thrower, he's got to show up. He's a rookie in the major leagues, had a great WBC, and I think he, came off of that with a lot of hype. But you guys maybe need to make one more move to shore up that fifth, sixth, seventh, as you hand the ball off to the monsters that you guys have, for to close out games. So that's something that the Rays, year in, year out, have been able to matriculate through, whether injury or not, and find those, sometimes diamonds in the rough in order to cover, these games and end up having a guy that surprises, whether it was Poche back in the day, Fairbanks, now these guys are legit, but I'm talking 2, 3, or 4 years ago, they came in, Chaz Rowe, and, the list is endless of like, holy cow, where did this guy come from? And they closed the gap from the 6th to the 9th. And remember, this is why this Rays team is really kind of an enigma this year. The Rays' normal win is 4-3, 4-2, 5-3 for many, many years. So this year, especially early on, those first 6 weeks coming out of the gate, out of Tropicana at home field advantage, their wins were 8-2, 10-4. They was just shellacking people. Now It's back to kind of evening out. It's going to be an interesting last couple of months. One last thing I'll say about the Orioles, it's refreshing to see Baltimore, the Texas Rangers, Cincinnati Reds, the Milwaukee, these teams that kind of are holding their own, if not leading their divisions. It's nice to see the breath of fresh air of the parity in the major leagues, that you're seeing some of the teams kind of resurface and show their wares.
Yeah, and that's actually what I was about to ask you. You grew up a New York Yankees fan, and you look at the Yankees, one of the highest payrolls in baseball. The Red Sox, one of the highest payrolls in baseball. The Blue Jays, one of the highest payrolls in baseball. And those teams are 5-4-3 in that order in the American League East. The Yankees, they're in last place, and I cannot remember. So I started. I'm 38 years old. I'll be 39 in a couple of months. And my entire adolescence and into adulthood, the Yankees have always been the team to beat. We're going all the way back to 95 when they were the wild card team, and they were the wild card team, and they won the division, or I can't remember. I remember they played the Mariners in 1995, and that was when Griffey scored the game-winning run to go to the ALCS, right? But since 1995, they've been one of the best teams in all of baseball, if not the best team. I've never remember seeing them in last place. They're in last place right now with maybe one of the highest payrolls in the division and in baseball. How refreshing is it? What does it mean for Major League Baseball to see the Orioles and the Rays, two of the lowest payrolls in baseball, to be number 1 and number 2 in this division, while you have these other guys looking up at them from in breathing a whole new air, basically?
I mean, in one sense, it's refreshing, as we kind of agreed to. In one sense, it shows great parity. So in New York, not the Yankees or the Mets, but MLB in Rob Manfred, it's going, this is good. You know what I mean? We've got teams. Minnesota's in the hunt. Cleveland's in the hunt. You could throw in the Detroit Tigers, hanging in there, only 6 back and possibly vying for a wild card spot. But that being said, it's not great for baseball too. It's good, but it's not great, because you obviously, you want some of the frontline teams to kind of also represent, because it's sexier and it sells more. But as far as the American League East, it's an anomaly, because even though they're 8.5 back, I mean, as far as taking the division, no. But as far as when you look at the wild card scenario, the Yankees are just basically 3 games back in the wild card, so they have won 51 games. I mean, the American League East is just ridiculous. You have 3 teams. The worst teams both have 51 victories, which, puts them in first place in some other divisions. So it's like, you can't count this team out yet. They've had an atrocious season offensively. Not as bad on the mound except for injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So if they shore up their offense and make a pickup or 2. Obviously, I really think that they're going to pick some sort of, top line offensive outfielder hitter, which they're in dire need of. Somebody, especially, from that can, maybe a left-handed power hitter. Obviously, Cody Bellinger's been, bandied about a lot. But somebody like that can fill that gap in left field, maybe even in right field sometimes. But the bottom line is that they need one more offensive bat. And then maybe, I don't see it, but maybe Shohei Ohtani does come into play, because that will be a spot that I think he could, stay at for a decade.
It's funny, Orestes, because every year, every top free agent is linked to the Yankees because it's the Yankees. And people remember, the late 90s through like 2010, every big name ended up in New York. We remember Randy Johnson, Alex Rodriguez.
Beyond that, though, Paul. I mean, you just had, Cole signed. This is beyond 2010. You just had Giancarlo Stanton come over in the trade and re-sign. That was beyond 2010.
That's true.
So they failed with Jacoby Ellsbury dramatically. This is a team that still is a landing place. The only reason I say Shohei, even though I think in end he's either going to stay with the Angels for the rest of the year and then make the decision, and even then I think he'll end up staying in the West Coast. So it will be either the Dodgers or maybe San Francisco, but most likely the heavy money Dodgers. And also good for marketing if he jumps to the Dodgers, is that there is some lore to the other greatest dual player and the only other great dual player really in the major leagues, and that is Babe Ruth, who came over to the Yankees. So there's that kind of like alpha omega kind of connection that I see that would be unique if he were end up in pinstripes. I'm biased. I'm still a major Yankee fan, honestly, but there is something connected to that with what he's doing.
Oh, absolutely. It's the Yankees, and if he was going to go to any East Coast team, he doesn't have control over who he gets traded to. But if he was going to sign with any East Coast team, you would imagine it would be the Yankees because it's the Yankees. So I understand that from that point of view.
Deep pockets, and it could be pretty interesting main offer too. So that you don't count the Mets out.
It absolutely could be. The only thing I'm looking at with the Mets is they have. I mean, and Steve Cohen, he doesn't care. He'll spend $600 million a year on his team if he has to. He doesn't care.
Right.
And with the Yankees, the only reason I think it wouldn't happen is because you have LeMahieu and Judge and Stanton under contract, and and Cole, and you're gonna add another one of those who's gonna get paid, a guy who might get paid nearly twice as much as some of those guys. That's the only problem.
The answer to that is yes. The Mets also have the same type of guys under contract too, if not even more. I mean, when you think about the signings of Verlander and all that. But the bottom line is that you would get. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Last night, I'm in Miami. I'm visiting my folks, and also had a couple other gigs that I was doing down here. So I was able to, spend the night over at my parents' house, and it's really nice. And we watched Lionel Messi perform, and you saw what he did, right? I mean, he hits like the most incredible game-ending, kick, almost like it looked like a 40-yard field goal that he hooked into the corner. He signed for what, $240 million. It's a weird contract with a bunch of different, not all coming from his team, but also from the league and Apple, his stock, however the combination is of well over $100 million a year. In that one kick, the dramatics of the kick and the stage of his very first, televised game as a Inter Miami player. They showed that game, by the way, worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have to be. I bet you that they garnered $20 million, or they're garnering, because it's being shown everywhere, 24/7 throughout this weekend into next week in advertising. So immediately, a player of that ilk, of global, personification, I'm telling you, way more than some of the players, including Judge, including, Scherzer, including Francisco Lindor, including Cole, will just, once he throws his first 2-hit shutout and hits 2 homers in a game, you're cha-chinging by the money that you're making by having Shohei Ohtani. So
yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that both those franchises, both New Yorks, would pay $500, $600, and watch out if there's not a bidding war and it goes into the 600s. So that's not really that's gonna happen somewhere. It depends. He's a very unique kid. I'll tell you from experience and knowing him that he's gonna go. He knows the money's there, where he's gonna feel most comfortable, most happy, and it's unfortunate that it's not going to be Tampa Bay or Baltimore, but because of the situation. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch, and I'm actually hoping that he just stays with the Angels throughout the rest of the year. That Mike Trout comes back, and they somehow make a playoff run to sneak in the wild card. They've kind of gotten hot here the last 4 games that they've won, so maybe they make the playoffs, and at least they get a last hurrah. And then we watch an incredible, probably the most dramatic free agent frenzy that we've ever possibly seen in the history of Major League Baseball. But I definitely want to close with you, and if you haven't me, thanks for having me. But about the Baltimore Orioles, because that's really the core of your show.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited for you guys, and I think this is gonna be a very interesting year, and I think you guys can go very far. And I told you before, I'm an Orioles fan also because of them, being in Miami for so long. As a kid, I grew up going to Oriole games ever back in the day, from the Mark Belanger, Boog Powell, Cal Ripken Sr. days of Miami Stadium. So I'm a big O's fan.
Yeah, as are we, and that's one of the reasons we love having you on the show. It's always a great segment. We certainly appreciate you taking the time for us today. Before we do let you go, Orestes, ambassador for the Cebu Lions, how's that going? When's your next trip over there? How are things going with all of that?
Going good. I mean, we're struggling this year. We got a brand new manager. In fact, you know who he is. It's Kazuo Matsui, former New York Met and Houston Astro and Colorado Rocky, and a star for the Cebu Lions for many years. We're talking about last place, man. We're jockeying back and forth with the Nippon Ham Fighters for last place in our league, and we've had major injuries. So offensively, we're really struggling. Pitching wise, we're hanging in there, but it's been enjoyable. I'll be back there in September and again in November, and it's just good to be reconnected with my Japan roots, because obviously COVID kind of kept me away from there for 3+ years. They just recently kind of fully opened up, in the spring. So it's something that's near and dear to me. And as I've always said, anywhere I'm Cuban born, American raised, but Japanese influenced. So I live kind of by all 3 wonderful cultures.
Well, I'm certainly glad that you get to make that a part of your life again. Glad that we could have you on the show. It's always awesome when our paths cross, Orestes. So I really appreciate you taking time for us today. And hey, when the Orioles and Rays play in the playoffs, we'll have you back on. All right.
I tell you what, we're going to be watching, and as we get closer towards the September drive and all that, I'll gladly come back on. Hopefully, it'll be some really exciting O's news.
Looking forward to it. Thank you. See you. That was Orestes Destrade joining us. He's one of my favorite guests. He's just like always a gracious guy. He's super cool guy too. I just like talking to that guy.
No doubt.
Yeah, he's always great. So, and always sings the praises of the Orioles. So it's nice to have an outsider who did a lot of television for the Rays, grew up a Yankees fan, and still loves the Orioles too. He's a great guy to have on the show. So special thanks to him again for coming on the show. If you notice, no Stan the Fan, Charles. Today we had the scheduling conflict with Orestes, so Stan agreed to take the week off. But if you're clamoring for Stan, he has changed up the format for his weekly shows, but you can still catch him every Monday and Thursday. Now, every Monday at 6 p.m., Stan will be joined by former Orioles pitcher Ross Grimsley and Press Box's managing editor Luke Jackson to break down the latest with the Birds. And every Thursday night, Stan and Gary Stein will chat with a different newsmaker from the world of sports. This week, they chatted with Superbook oddsmaker John Murray. You can watch the shows live at facebook.com/pressbox or find them the next day at pressboxonline.com/video and youtube.com/pressboxonline. So join Stan, Ross, and Luke this and every Monday night, and Stan and Gary Stein every Thursday night for your Stan the Fan fix. We got to catch a break. When we come back in, Orioles banter and the payoff pitch around the league. That's next on the Bat Around.
Exciting weekend of affordable family fun at Prince George's Stadium with the Bowie Bay Sox. Weekend starts on the 21st with our Bowie Pit Beef Night. Come on out and grab a bite. Back-to-back fireworks carry on to Saturday with the Island Luau, a free Bay Sox Hawaiian shirt to the first 750 fans. And it closes on Sunday with Heroes Day. Bay Sox jerseys auctioned off to support local charities. Get your tickets now by calling 301-805-6000 or anytime online at baysox.com. The Bowie Bay Sox. Let us be your 9-inning vacation.
I'm Michael Jangrandi, president of AJ Michaels, your carrier energy expert for 44 years. Save money, energy, and make your home more comfortable and virus-free. Find us at ajmichaels.com. That's ajmichaels.com.
Your summer destination is closer than you think at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. With an expansive gaming floor and incredible dining options ready for you to explore, your adventure awaits. Dine at the new Coho Korean Barbecue House coming in July or on the patio at the Prime Rib. Enjoy the summertime breeze at Orchid Smoking Patio. Limited time packages starting at $229. What are you waiting for? Book now. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Hike to new heights. The best view is yours in Washington County. Our iconic scenic overlooks provide some of the most breathtaking vistas in the Mid-Atlantic. Some are very easy walks, some can be driven to, and some are the payoff for a moderate to difficult hike. All are near quaint small towns that offer great dining, shopping, hiking gear, and more. Explore our 5 national parks for iconic vistas and wineries with breathtaking views. Visit our quaint historic towns and make your stay unforgettable. Learn more at visithagerstown.com. Maryland, be open.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
Welcome back to the Bat Around. Today's show brought to you by the Toyota Tacoma, which comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. And now it is time for the payoff pitch around the league. Zach Eflin produced his best start in the Rays uniform, allowing 2 hits and striking out 8 over 7 shutout innings. An Orioles batter struck out looking 10 times as Tampa Bay took down Baltimore 3-0. Highly coveted trade candidate Cody Bellinger collected a double and a home run among his 3 hits, driving in 2 to lead the Cubs over the Cardinals 4-3. Juan Soto homered twice and drove in 3 to pace the Padres as they held off the Tigers 5-4. The Rockies clubbed 3 homers and got 5 shutout innings from Peter Lambert to hand the Marlins their 7th straight loss 6-1. Michael Massey homered twice and drove in 4 for the Royals, but it was Yankees outfielder Billy McKinney who stole the show with 2 defensive gems and a big 3-run homer to lead the Yanks past Kansas City 5-4. C.J. Abrams and Lane Thomas set the table at the top of the Nationals' order with a home run and 2 hits each as the Nationals staved off the Giants 5-3. The Reds scored 5 runs in the 5th, the big blow coming in the form of a Matt McClain grand slam, while Spencer Steer drove in 3 runs of his own to push the Reds to a 9-6 victory over Arizona and pull into a virtual tie with Philadelphia and Miami for the final wild card spot. Jose Ramirez had 4 hits, and David Fry drove in 2 as the Guardians handed the Phillies their 3rd straight defeat, 6-5. Freddie Freeman keeps raking, smacking his 18th home run and his Major League leading 35th double, driving in 3, while J.D. Martinez drove in 3 of his own for a nice team-leading 69 as the Dodgers took care of the Rangers 11-5. Austin Riley smoked his 5th home run in 4 games, driving in 2 to pace the Braves in a 6-4 victory over Milwaukee. Byron Buxton and Max Kirilloff combined for 3 home runs and 8 RBIs, and Joe Ryan struck out 10 over 6 innings as the Twins held their rank in the AL Central with a 9-4 handling of the White Sox. Shohei Ohtani struck out 9 over 6 in the 3rd innings, but he also allowed 4 home runs and 5 earned runs. Still, the Angels hit 4 homers of their own to take down the Pirates 8-5 for their 4th straight win to keep their wild card hopes alive. Former number 1 overall pick Henry Davis became the first player ever to have a multi-homer game against Shohei Ohtani in the loss. Kyle Tucker hit 3 home runs, driving in 4, and Alex Bregman contributed a 2-run shot as the Astros took care of the A's 6-4. Teoscar Hernandez tallied 3 hits, including the walk-off RBI single in the bottom of the 9th to lead the Mariners over the Blue Jays 3-2. And finally, Brandon Nimmo and Daniel Vogelbach contributed a pair of 2-run homers to give the Mets a 4-3 lead over the Red Sox before play was suspended due to weather in the bottom of the 4th. The game will be completed today as part of a truncated doubleheader. Zach, what's on tap today?
I love when you use the word truncated. It's a good word. Brady Singer starts off the day against Garrett Cole. Royals
What's he
and
singing?
Yankees. Royals looking for their 29th win. I'm not answering that question. Probably Bruce Springsteen. 105 today at Yankee Stadium.
You answered the question.
Well, I did. I did. I had to. The Rockies play the Marlins. Chase Anderson against Johnny Cueto. 110 Lone Depot Park. Miles Michaelis goes against Michael Fulmer in Wrigley Field in Chicago. Cardinals and Cubs. Dodgers go against Dane Dunning and the Rangers. Bobby Miller going for the Dodgers 4-5 at Globe Life Field. To be determined, our favorite pitcher for the D-backs against Brandon Williamson for the Reds. That's 4:10 at Great American Ballpark. Grayson, the Big Rod Rodriguez, goes for the Baltimore Orioles.
Yes.
And Tampa Bay Rays will start Shane McClanahan. I couldn't get my train of thought after I made that joke. Tampa Bay Rays will start Shane McClanahan, the great left-hander, 4:10 at Tropicana Field. Kevin Gausman, former Oriole, goes against the right-hander Logan Gilbert, 4:10 at T-Mobile Park. That's the Jays and the Mariners. First start of the year for Jackson Wolf against Matt Manning. Padres take on the Tigers 6:10 in Detroit. Logan Webb takes on Josiah Gray. Giants and Nationals 7:05 at Nationals Park. Max Scherzer, the veteran, takes on another veteran in the lefty James Paxton 7:10 at Fenway Park as the Mets are in town against the Red Sox. Zach Wheeler against Tanner Bybee. Guardians and Phillies 7:10 at Progressive Field. Dylan Cease takes on Sonny Gray. Great pitching matchup there at Target Field as the White Sox battle the Twins. 7:15 for that one. Another first start of the year, and I hope I pronounce this right because I've never heard of this guy. Alan Winans takes on Adrian Hauser as the Braves play the Brewers in Milwaukee. That's at 7:15. Christian Javier takes on Paul Blackburn, Astros and A's, 9:07 at the Oakland Coliseum. Ryan Barucki takes on Reed Detmers. Angels and Pirates, 9:07 at Angel Stadium. And finally, like you mentioned, that game that's going to actually begin in the bottom of the fourth. The Mets and the Red Sox will play with Cody Senga and Cutter Crawford as their two pitchers going today. That game is going to resume. That's what it has listed here. So is that not going to be the case?
Cutter Crawford started last night.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
so
they're resuming that game. He gave up the 2-2
that's
homers.
What's listed. So,
right.
Yeah.
He's not pitching today. It's going to be their
to be determined.
It's going to be their bullpen or maybe.
Well, let's see if there's another. I can try to find another listing, but that's what I looked up the game, and that's what's currently there. So I don't know.
Well, that's because who started last night. But because those were the guys who started last night.
Got it.
When you said Cutter Crawford, I'm like, I just saw his name, and I'm like, oh yeah. He started
Maybe they'll just update that because again, that's what
they will.
It's going to be to be determined or bullpen game or something along those lines.
Because
so we'll see
they're picking it up in the bottom of the fourth inning, so it's going to be new guys. They're probably not going to waste a starting pitcher for that game, either team for that matter. So I imagine it's going to be a bullpen game to finish things out there. My wife sends these updates of the size of our child. If you don't know, my wife is pregnant with our first child, our little girl. And she is 15 weeks. We're not naming her any variation of Bruce.
No, that's not where I was going to go with that. You said something else that made me laugh. But anyway, go ahead.
And our daughter is 15 weeks today in the womb. And she is the size of a pear.
Oh, good.
She is 4 inches long and weighs 2.5 ounces.
That sounds just about right.
So it's so funny because it's always a fruit. It started out as she's the size of a kidney bean. That was the only time it wasn't a fruit. Then it was a blueberry. Then it was a raspberry.
At least it wasn't a kidney stone.
Then it was a weird. Then it was a strawberry, an apple, or no, it was like a strawberry, a peach, an apple, an orange. Now she's a pear.
That's crazy to think that your daughter was once the size of a strawberry.
I can't wait till it switches over to sports. She's the size of a softball.
Yeah.
She's the size of a football. She's the size of a baby gorilla. She's probably overdue.
Not.
Let's get her out of there.
Man, if she's the size of a baby gorilla, your wife unfortunately is in trouble. That wouldn't be good.
Yeah. There's a scene.
That wouldn't be good.
There's a scene from a Family Guy episode
where
they were talking about when Chris was born, and they show a newspaper clipping of Lois just looking like she's half dead, and it says, "Woman gives birth to record elephant baby."
Again,
and it was just funny.
Hopefully not. Hopefully it doesn't happen to you. But
I can't.
Currently the size of a pear.
Can't imagine that it would.
I can't either.
Today's show, and specifically Orioles banter / sounding off with Zach Goodman, they're all incorporated into one segment today, and both are brought to you by PressBox. Offers, and PressBox is offering new sports bettors the best sign-up bonuses and promos from 7 legal online sports books. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers now and get offers like $150 in bonus bets from DraftKings after placing your first $10 bet, or up to $1,250 in bonus bets from Caesars. Time is limited to get the best offers from all of the sports books. So go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers and sign up today. Do it! Do it now! Sign up. PressBoxOnline.com/offers. That's from a movie. Do it. Do it now. But
Point Break?
No, it's that you just watched Point Break. You know as well as anybody. You probably watched it 3 times since then.
I did. I just loved it so much. I can't
you
stop.
gave it a 6.7 out of 10.
It's not bad. Yeah,
I love that.
Again,
movie.
it wasn't a bad movie. It's just not one that I would ever go, in 15, 20 years later after I watch it, tell my co-host on a show that it's a 12 out of 10 and I've got to see it.
But
I don't know.
You also have to understand, Zach, that you watched it for the very first time in 2023.
Yeah,
I watched it for the first time.
I think it's 30 years old now.
I watched it for the first time in like 1995,
and
that was back when it was like at the cutting edge.
The cool thing, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
back when, and they may still do this, where they would shoot night scenes during the day and just fade the brightness balance down, so it looks like it's at night, but you can clearly see you're looking at the sky. You can see the moon, the sun is supposed to be the moon, and all that. It's like this is very clearly shot during the day.
Yeah.
I think they still do that sometimes. It's a technique.
Are you going to partake in Barbenheimer, or whatever they call it now, Barbieheimer, Barbheimer? I don't know what they're calling it, but the thing that's sweeping the nation right now. Are you going to participate?
So I heard Oppenheimer is super long.
It is.
And I feel like
this is like a 5-hour ordeal if you want to go see both, I think.
Why in the hell would I go watch the Barbie movie? If my daughter was not the size of a pear and was actually here,
she was the size of a gorilla.
If she was the size of a gorilla, I would take her
supposed to be.
I would take her to go see the Barbie movie. I have no reason, and my wife is not into such things. My wife barely likes going to the movies, and there is no chance of her ever watching Oppenheimer for no reason other than it's like a 3-hour movie. She doesn't like it if a movie's longer than an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
I also feel like most people are going to see Oppenheimer solely for the explosion scene.
Well, don't spoil it. I mean, I didn't even know there was an explosion scene.
It's about the
I know what
bomb.
it's about. I know what it's about, but
it's supposed to be the craziest explosion in cinematic history.
I should see it in IMAX
and
then.
None of it is CGI.
I read very little about this because I want to be surprised. I'm gonna see it in a few weeks. This movie screams me. Like there is no movie that's come out recently that screams me as much as this one does.
I feel like the vast majority of people that are going to see this movie are 100% going. That doesn't make sense. The vast majority of people that are going to see this movie are going to see it for the sole reason that they want to see this epic explosion.
In IMAX, yeah.
Right? I had no clue that the Barbie movie was going to be such a phenomenon.
I didn't either.
I mean, look, it just came out last night, but my entire social media timeline was just filled.
Well, according to Matt,
grown, and I'm not talking about like 17, 18. I don't have any 17, 18, 19-year-old lady friends on social media. But I'm not seeing teenagers or girls in their early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing grown-ass women having Barbie parties dressed in all pink with like Barbie signs behind them to go see this movie. I thought, you know what? They're taking advantage of Ryan Gosling's extreme popularity right now, Margot Robbie's extreme popularity right now, and the fact that she is absolutely stunningly gorgeous. They're taking advantage of that.
Role.
But I was like, this movie's gonna bomb. It's a movie about Barbie. It's gonna bomb. I thought it was for children.
You're like, I haven't seen these since I was 13. That's crazy. I was playing with them.
As soon as I'll tell you when I started to think this could be weird is when there was there was a teaser for the Barbie movie a few months back, and it was her getting out of bed or something like that, and they did a close up of her feet to show like that. Because if you know anything about Barbie, my sisters had a ton of Barbies when I was growing up, and Barbie's feet were in an angle for high heels at all times. So when Margot Robbie gets out of bed and starts to walk towards whatever, they do a close-up of her feet in the high heel stance, right? And this became like a foot fetish thing online for a bunch of people. It was really weird. And when they did that, I was like, I thought this was supposed to be a children's movie, but maybe not.
I don't really get that. That's the point of it. Like, I don't see it as a children's movie. By the way, Matt Pine, a good friend of the show, said, and he's in the film industry, this is someone who has seen every movie imaginable. Like, I guarantee you he's seen Point Break 6 times. He said, if you want to have an absolute blast at the movies, go see Barbie. And this is from a guy who is one of the most critical people of movies. There are movies I love and give like a 9.5 out of 10. He's like, that's trash. It's a 2. So he gave it a pretty favorable score from last night. And he said,
hope he tells you that about your opinion on Bruce Springsteen. You're a 9.5 and he's a 2. I'm a 2. You're a 30.
I don't think you're even a 2.
You feel about Bruce Springsteen the way I feel about Point Break. 12 out of 10.
Yes, absolutely. No, it's better than 12 out of 10. It's an infinity out of 10.
Anyway, he also put Oppenheimer as like his second best
Christopher Nolan film.
Christopher Nolan film, which is
he loved it.
It's high praise. But like I thought that the Barbie movie it's a Barbie movie, and there are grown women in their 30s, in their 40s, who are putting on their best pink outfit and getting together with a group of friends and going to see this movie.
Yeah.
If it's a blast, I'm not going to write it off that I'll ever see it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm ever going to the movie theater to watch this.
Again,
ever. Because my wife has no interest. And I'm not going. I don't. There are some movies I want to see so badly I'll go see them by myself.
Yeah.
The Barbie will never be that movie.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. Well, again, when your daughter's not the size of a pear, maybe she'll want to see it.
The size of a baby gorilla. We will go see it. But by that time, we'll be able to watch it on demand, and she can watch it
It'll be streamable.
Oh, my little baby girl. I can't wait. I can't wait to be a dad, man. I can't wait for her to be born. So far, I'm not nervous. This morning,
you're not close enough yet to be nervous.
Yeah, I'm not close enough. You are absolutely correct.
But have you bought anything yet? Because I feel like that's for most people when it just kind of sets in that oh God, I gotta take care of a baby.
My mother and my mother-in-law have combined to send us a crib, a changing table.
That's good.
And a rocker. Which my best friend Adam, you've met Adam, watching football a couple of times.
Guy.
He came over after work yesterday and helped me carry all of these things into our daughter's room.
Okay.
And it's so
shit. So what did you do with the room like before that? What was the transformation looking like?
Well, there's no transformation yet. It looks exactly the same, except we had a love seat in there that we've now put into the garage.
Got it.
But we it was a guest room, but mainly the cat's room. So now the cats have to share the room.
She's gonna live with the cats.
With the little girl. I've got some plans. I've got a nice commish check coming in. I've got to spend some money on a few things, but I've got some plans. But my plans don't matter compared to my wife's plans because whatever we do with that room will be 100% her touch, and I just get to say, yeah, it looks good. Whatever you want, babe.
Yeah, my dad just texted me, by the way. Here's some advice for you, I guess, as a parent. He said, Paul, get a swing.
Get a swing.
So get a swing.
We'll get a
there you go.
We don't have any place to put. I guess we can attach
it to the
deck.
roof and have the cats ride with her.
What? Well, we can attach it to the deck, but this is not our forever home. We're going to buy a house in the next year or two, so we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But we can put a swing on the deck. We can 100% do that. Off the rails here on the Bat Around. It's time for Orioles banter / sounding off with Zachary Alan Goodman.
He knows it's wrong and still does it. Like that's the best part.
Your name, your initials are Zag. I just think that's so cool.
They're not.
I'm gonna start calling you Ziggy.
You're
Mr.
just assuming
Zag.
that they are. They're not.
Zachary Alan Goodman. If your parents didn't make your middle name Alan, and if your name's just Zach and not Zachary, they missed the boat. Zachary,
clearly.
Zachary Alan Goodman. Just like I call my buddy Joe Jelinski, Joseph Kennedy Jelinski.
Joseph Kennedy.
Weird story about him. He did not have a middle name. He had to create a middle name because when he moved here from Pennsylvania, and when
they don't give him out middle names up there
for like 2 years. He was living down here. That's how we met because we worked in the same restaurant. And he didn't have a license. When he went to go get his license, he had to have a middle name. So he just made one up. He told him his middle name was Michael. He doesn't actually have a middle name.
Wait, so what's his actual name now?
His name is Joe Jelinski, but he made up Michael.
Joe Michael. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
he picked a good middle name.
He should have chosen Kennedy. Joseph Kennedy Jelinski.
Yeah.
Any who's a what's it's. By the way, I never used to say any who's a what's it's until Glenn wrote that into a script for me for a live read last year.
By the way, the Grinder one's still playing.
Yeah.
FYI.
Yeah. The Jerry McCon Grinder.
No, I don't think it's that one.
I think it's there's a couple.
It's is there a couple? I don't know. It's the one where
we spent 8 minutes talking about non-baseball.
Probably lost like 15 viewers in that time.
Yeah.
Anyway,
all 15 of them. So sounding off banner style with Zach Goodman, our Major League Baseball top 5 power rankings. Since this is your baby, your creation, I will let you start
Size
first.
of a pair.
Number 5.
This one I changed around. I had something different going in this week. I'm going to go Dodgers at number 5. I feel somewhat confident in the Dodgers. Stan had them, if we go back to Stan's power rankings at the beginning of the year, he had them very far down.
Like
it was like 16th or 15th, yeah. And I looked at that and I was like, you know what? I kind of agree. They don't have a lot of huge names anymore. And historically, if you look over the past 15, 20 years, the Dodgers have had the biggest names arguably in the entire Major League system. And you look at the Yankees, they've always had big names too, but the Dodgers are always big players in that. And it seems like their talent has consistently become more homegrown. I mean, now there's guys like James Outman and a number of other guys who are really legitimate homegrown players, and they're doing a lot better than I ever expected them to be. Right now, they're sitting at the top of that division only by 3 games. And they're really...
it wasn't that long ago that they were not in first place.
Right.
The Diamondbacks. It was like 2 weeks
ago.
But
all of a sudden, the Giants are hot on the heels of everyone. The Giants are only 3 games back, and the Diamondbacks are also 3 games back. They're tied for the same record right now with a .551 winning percentage. I couldn't have seen the Giants there. Certainly couldn't have seen the D-backs there. But the Dodgers are just kind of hanging on. But they're 8-2 in their last 10. They're really hot. They're probably, I would say, I'm confident they're going to win this division. The pitching has been better than I expected. The hitting has been better than I expected. Everything's been better. So Dodgers are going to grab the number 5 spot for me right now.
The Rangers grab the number 5 spot for me right now. losing DeGrom from the rotation hurts them. The offense is really good. They're still keeping pace. They're still in first place out there in the West, but they were looking like one of the best teams in baseball for a while there, and they don't have that look for me right now.
Okay.
I love the combination of Seager, Semien, Jung, and Garcia, and Jonah Heim. It has been awesome for them, but I feel like they've fallen off enough that you have to look at them and say they're not. They're a top 5 team, but I can't put them higher than 5th right now.
I feel like Ohtani's going to win MVP. I think he's on track for that. But nobody's talking about how good Corey Seager has been this year. Yeah. Like, Corey Seager has gone completely under the radar again because I feel like the Rangers have 6 other guys that are legitimate players and legitimate, really good starting baseball players on the Rangers right now. So Corey Seager's batting .350 with a .413 OBP.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Unbelievable. Yeah. He's kind of carrying that offense right now. Like you said, there's a few Gunnar things. Henderson. Yeah, he's hopefully Gunner's better than that. I would love for Gunner to be.
It's hard to be better than .350 with a .413
undoubtedly
OBP.
Hard to be better than that. But Marcus Semien wasn't awful last year, wasn't his best either. It seems like he's kind of reverting into what really good Marcus Semien looks like. 272, 341, 444 slash line. Pretty good from him this year. Jonah Heim has been amazing. They're my number 4 team if you hadn't gathered that so far. They're number 1 in their division. I just worry when the Rangers get to the playoffs, and I think the same argument can be made for the Orioles, that lack of experience. There's a lot of younger guys, but I feel as though that Corey Seager and Marcus Semien are 2 guys who've been around it before. They've seen good winning baseball teams. They've played in a lot of places. These are 2 guys who are going to carry without Jacob deGrom to kind of lead the way as that veteran. So I'm pretty confident in the Rangers right now. I don't know when come the playoffs how good they're going to be, but I like them at number 4.
My number 4 team is the Tampa Bay Rays. Look, when we were talking with in the earlier segment, first 3 months of the year, they were averaging 5.6 runs per game. They were blowing teams out for the first month of the season. They started 27-6, 13-0. They're 500 since then. They're 34-34 since starting 27-6, right? And you also have to look at the fact that they've scored 3.3 runs per game in July, and they've gone 4-12 in July.
Yeah.
They're 4-12 in July. They've been outscored by 16 runs this month. They're a good team who's struggling right now. They're going to bounce back.
Yeah.
They're probably going to make a sizable move at the deadline to really shore up that rotation fully and shore up that lineup, although that lineup is nasty.
I mean, really, there's one starter right now who's below league average.
Yeah.
In that lineup.
Yeah.
So
and maybe they bring in a bat to replace that guy.
It's Brandon Lau. Yeah. That's the unbelievable part
crazy.
about it.
But they're going to make a move to bolster that team and try and put them over the top because it's going to be a puncher's brawl between them and the Orioles the rest of the way. But they're my number 4 team. I know that they're going to improve from where they've been.
And they're my number 3 team. This keeps working out. Honestly, Zach Eflin is proof to every pitcher in the major leagues right now that if you sign with Tampa, they're going to make you better. Like, Zach Eflin is great proof of that. Right now, he's having a career year. He's 11-5. He's got a 3.36 ERA.
Best start of his career last night.
He's been unbelievable, and this is 19 games. It's not a small sample size at this point. He has been just, frankly, better than anyone could have ever expected, and that's great news for them because they've had pitching injuries. You don't really know ever what to expect out of Tyler Glasnow. We could be talking a week from now, and he's out for the year. That's what happens every now and then with Tyler Glasnow. So this pitching staff has been really good. Taj Bradley, the ERA doesn't look that great, but he's still striking out over 12 guys per 9. It's just up and down this team. There's really, really good players, and they've played virtually, if you look at it, 500 ball over the past month or so. They haven't been that great, but I still think this team is primed for a bounce back, and I think, unfortunately, the Orioles are going to be come at the expense of that. They're probably going to take over first place in not too short of time because this team has just been playing kind of mediocre right now. But again, I think they're going to get back to it, and I'm pretty confident.
You said over the last month, 500 ball. It's 68 games. They're 34-34.
Okay, 68. So it's over
more
2
than
months.
Yeah. It's over 2 months of baseball for them.
But again, this lineup is just so good. There's so many guys here that can produce.
But it's like what Orestes said. Yandy Diaz had 9 home runs in April, and he's got 13. He's got 13 now. Randy Arozarena had 9 home runs in April. He's got 17 now. A lot of these guys are falling off, and a lot of these guys are having career years. They're good players. Is their offense so nasty that they're better than everybody else? I don't know.
They have a lot of home run hitters, though. They've hit 100.
They're second in baseball. Second in the American League of that.
148. And if I'm going to pull up the Orioles real quick just to compare here for comparison's sake. The Orioles have hit
not that many. Like 108.
114 so far for the Orioles.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a drastic difference. That's one of the things we talked about the Orioles, and I don't want to go into an Orioles segment here, but they have a lack of home run hitters. That's just been the case. And if you get rid of Santander, if you trade him, now at the deadline or coming in this offseason, you're going to have to replace him with actually someone who can hit home runs because he's one of the few guys that does. So that's one of the reasons that Tampa Bay is still, I think, really good.
My number 3 team is the Orioles. They're 11-6 in the month of July. Aside from a pretty poor start from Kramer, Gibson, and even Gibson, his last start was a quality start. But aside from some blowups from Kramer and Wells each of their last outings, the starting rotation has been really good all month. They've been really good. Kyle Bradish has developed into the ace of the staff. People want to say Tyler Wells. Tyler Wells has given up 22 home runs. Kyle Bradish gave up his 9th home run of the season last night. He's consistently giving you 6 innings every start out and 2 earned runs or less. He's the ace of the staff. ERA down to 3.05. He's becoming exactly what I thought he could be and what we hoped he could be. He's the ace of the staff. The Orioles are a starting pitcher away from being that team right now, in my humble opinion. So they're my number 3 team.
They're my number 2 team. It keeps working out. So the Orioles, again, they need to add. They absolutely need to add. I think Fujinami is a huge help because he can replace the Brian Baker innings or, who else? Who's another good example? Even
Mike Baumann.
Mike Baumann is a great example of innings that can be replaced by Fujinami. This is a guy that can potentially make a high leverage reliever, and we've seen that they are, frankly, a relief pitching factory over the past 3 or 4 years. So I love that move. I think they're going to make probably 2 more. That's my guess. 2 more moves seems, I think, right about what the Orioles are going to do. I think one's going to be a reliever, and I think one's going to be a starter. Jordan Hicks and Jordan Montgomery would be an unbelievable package, and that would really take this team for me from the second best team in the American League. And again, power rankings are, for me, what I've always said is what I think they're going to do. So I think the Rays are going to the Orioles right now are above the Rays, but I think the Rays at the end of the day could overtake the Orioles, but I have the Orioles ahead because I think they're going to add at the deadline. I think they're going to be able to overtake the Rays at the end of the day.
And for me,
if that made sense.
For me, it's mostly how you're playing right now combined with a little bit of what I think you're going to do, which is why the Rays are in my top 5 because they're not playing good baseball.
No, they're not playing good baseball, but I think the Orioles are better than the Rays simply because I think they're going to add, and that Fujinami add is really going to help them in the next 2 months. I really believe that.
Well, we'll see. I like the Fuji pickup a lot.
They need.
He showed it last night. He's got elite stuff.
Exactly.
He's got elite stuff. My number 2 team is the Dodgers, and again, it's because of what they're doing right now. They're 8-2 their last 10. They just took 2 or 3 from the Orioles. They who were they playing again last night? The Dodgers.
The Dodgers today face, and I gotta find this again because I had it here. The Dodgers play the Rangers, so really good.
Yeah, and they stuck it to the Rangers last night. They're beating really good teams right now. Their offense is nasty.
Yeah.
I mean, J.D. Martinez has already had, I think, 8 more home runs than he had all of last year. He leads that team in home runs and in RBIs.
I wanted him so bad.
I did too. And the fact that he signed for only $11 million, I don't even know if the Orioles made an offer, but you have that guy in the middle of the lineup right now. The OBP is down, the average is down, but he's got 23 home runs and he's got 69 RBIs hitting cleanup for the LA Dodgers. Mookie Betts is so good. Freddie Freeman might be the best hitter on the planet. He's just so consistent, and he's a Hall of Famer. He's going to the Hall of Fame, and people don't talk about him like that. He's really good. Like, he hits everything. Chris Taylor, Will Smith, this whole team, their lineup is just absolutely stacked. The pitching's going to get them through. I expect them to make a run at Ohtani. If not at the deadline, then definitely in the offseason. I honestly think that's where he's ending up for the rest of his career is with the Dodgers because he doesn't have to. He's already in LA. That team and what they've done for 20 years, they've consistently been one of the best teams in baseball for 2 decades. So they're and they're right where they're supposed to be, leading the AL West. They're my number 2 overall team. I think we both know what our number 1 team is.
Yeah, the Braves are the best team right now.
Yeah.
But by the way, I just want to mention. Closer Evan Phillips has 12 saves right now for the Dodgers.
He's been really good for 2 years.
And that's unreal. He's been really good. I'm still trying to figure out what made Evan Phillips really good. I think someone said he has a gyro slider now that's just unbelievable and that no one can really hit. So it's it's beyond me how Evan Phillips turned himself around from one of the worst relievers the Orioles had on their team for a few years to one of the best relievers the Dodgers have now. So that's pretty interesting. But the Braves are the number one team in baseball. I think that's pretty undisputable.
Yeah, offense is really good. Starting rotation is really good. Bullpen is really good. They're probably going to add another piece, too, at the deadline.
Could be Ohtani. Could be.
It could be. If the Braves add Shohei Ohtani, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah, I agree.
They're the champions.
I agree with
Just
that.
crown them. Just don't even have the playoffs. Have the playoffs because we want to see the Orioles playing in October, and we want to see them playing the Braves in the World Series. But if the Braves add Ohtani, it's over. 100%.
Yeah.
But, that would just be an embarrassment of riches because they don't need him. But every team needs Ohtani, I guess is the point, though. So, very good segment. It's always a ton of fun.
Real quick before we leave the Braves, Ronald Acuna is slashing .328, .406, .579. And he's got 23 home runs.
And he's got like 50 stolen bases.
This guy, 44 stolen bases. If that's not MVP, that's
no.
I don't know what.
We already know the MVPs.
Yeah,
the MVP in the American League is Ohtani. The MVP in the National League is Acuna. Can they still give Ohtani the American League MVP when he gets traded to the Braves? Can they still give that to him? Can they win co-MVP in the National League?
I don't think that works like that.
Yeah,
I think
it can't.
Yeah,
it's I remember. I don't remember. I wasn't alive, but Rick Sutcliffe got traded. He was like 13. And he got traded to the Cubs and went like 13-0 and won the National League Cy Young.
Yeah.
He was in the American League and he got traded to the Cubs and won the National League Cy Young by going like 13-0 or like 13-1 for the Cubs that year. It was crazy.
What's amazing, the Rookie of the Year last year too, Michael Harris has had a very average year. He's 100 OPS plus right now. He's been okay. And last year he was an 132 OPS plus. He's significantly come down from he's having a sophomore slump, and I think that's fair to say. But that's how good the Braves are. The guy they just gave a massive extension in the offseason, Michael Harris, and the Rookie of the Year last year, is having a very average year, and they're still this incredible.
30 games above 500.
Yeah.
30 games. And they're absolute. They are 99 greater than 99.9% to make the postseason.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. They are.
21.7% to win the World Series. When do you ever see a percentage that high to win the World Series? To be the team left standing, their percentage for that is 21.7.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Dodgers, by the way, are 13%, which is hard to believe as well. But I'm also going to go to the Orioles and see what percent that Baseball Reference has them. They're 98.3 to make postseason. Oh, 93.3, excuse me. And then 6.3% to win the World Series. So that's still pretty good.
This Braves lineup, man. Sean Murphy, 17 home runs, 57 ribeye steaks. Olsen, 32.80. Ozzie Albies, 22.66. Austin Riley, 21.58, and he's hit 5 home runs in 4 days. Eddie Rosario, 15-44. Ronald Acuna Jr., 23-58, and oh, by the way, 44 stolen bases. This team is stupid. Marcelo Osuna, 18 homers, 43 RBIs. Now he's slashing. He's got 760 OPS. He's got a 760 OPS because he's hitting 234 with 309 on base percentage. But he's their worst hitter.
Yeah.
And he's got 18 home runs. This team is absolutely ridiculous. And then you look at their starting rotation. Spencer Strider, 11-3 with a 3.78. Charlie Morton, the ageless wonder, 10-7 with a 3.36. Bryce Elder, 7-2 with a 3.31.
Bryce Elder's awesome.
Like They are absolutely stupid good. Stupid good. It's crazy. Their closer though has a 4.08 ERA, so they're going to go out and get a closer.
They very well could. They could be the guy who gets the team that gets Scott Barlow.
Yeah, they're going to go and trade for a closer, guaranteed. Maybe they'll bring Kenley Jansen back. You never know.
Maybe. Where's Kenley right now? Is
Boston.
he in Boston?
He's in Boston.
So that seems like a team that would like to get rid of.
Yeah, but they are also trying for a wild card. They're in 4th place.
Yeah, they are
in the AL East, and they've got 51 wins.
They're somehow still in it.
Yeah, well, because they hit.
Yeah, they do.
They hit. Great segment. We got to catch a break. When we come back in, we are going to hear from MLB Pipeline and MLB.com. Jonathan Mayo. That's next on the Batter Round.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand.
Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org.
It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
The All-America Senior Game powered by New Balance will be back at Johns Hopkins Homewood Field on July 29th. The most decorated girls and boys lacrosse players in the country have been invited to play in what is the premier lacrosse event of the year. Every college coach wants their players in this game, and if you dream of being in this game, you start by trying out for one of your regional underclass teams this summer. The best against the best. Get your tickets now at allamericalacrosse.com.
Are you a diehard O's fan looking for the perfect way to show your team spirit? Look no further than Birdland Sports. Birdland Sports is a small business run by fans for fans. They offer a wide variety of unofficial O's merchandise, from the Birds Are Coming tees to player cartoon shirts and more. And the best part? Their prices are more affordable than the big guys. So head to birdlandsports.com and grab your gear today. Show your support for the Birds with Birdland Sports.
Soak up summertime fun in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouth-watering eats, and endless entertainment. Cheer on the O's at Camden Yards. Pick crabs by the waterfront. Beat the heat inside a world-class museum and make memories that will last a lifetime. Go to baltimore.org for more information and to plan your visit.
I'm Griffin Bass, and I have the extraordinary, mind-blowing, and life-affirming pleasure of being the new producer for the absolute funniest, smartest, and most handsome sports host in all of Baltimore. Wait a second, Glenn. I'm working for you, not Jeremy Kahn. If you're not listening to Glenn Clark Radio, here's what you're missing.
He's Coach Kevin Willard.
Glenn, thanks for having me.
Baltimore Ravens wide receiver, Rashad Bateman.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
He is outfielder Cedric Mullins.
Thank you guys for having me.
Mr. Marcus Williams, who's now with us.
Man, appreciate it. Happy to be on.
Ravens kicker Justin Tucker.
Thanks for having me.
Adley Rutschman.
Absolutely, thanks for having me on.
John Angelos.
Thanks a lot. Good to be with you.
He is Gunnar Henderson.
Thank y'all so much.
Marlon Humphrey.
Thank you.
Talia Tungavailoa.
Thank you guys for having me.
He is J.K. Dobbins.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
The great Ray Lewis.
Always good to be on.
He is Mr. Cal Ripken Jr.
Good chatting with you.
Watch Glenn Clark Radio at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and listen live at PressBoxOnline.com/radio or anytime on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or anywhere you get your podcasts.
I'm Michael Jangrandy, president of AJ Michaels, your carrier energy expert for 44 years. Save money, energy, and make your home more comfortable and virus-free. Find us at ajmichaels.com. That's ajmichaels.com.
All electronic tolling is here to stay in Maryland, and DriveEasyMD.com helps you cruise a little easier. We're Maryland's tolling resource, home to Easy Pass, pay-by-plate, and video tolling. It's never been easier to pay your way. DriveEasyMD.com. We'll keep you moving.
Welcome back to the Bat Around. Today's show brought to you by PressBox's Glenn Clark Radio, which is the definitive place to find the best daily discussion of Baltimore sports. Watch the show every weekday from 10 a.m. to noon at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Or listen to it at PressBoxOnline.com/radio with podcasts available on iTunes, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. You never know who might pop up on GCR. This week, the guys caught up with the Orioles pitcher Cole Irvin, the legendary Tippy Martinez, former Ravens running back Ray Rice, and ESPN's Sal Palantonio. You can find those interviews and more right now in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature at PressBoxOnline.com. Joining us now from MLB.com and MLB Pipeline, he is Jonathan Mayo. Jonathan, it's Paul, it's Zach. Thanks so much for taking some time for us today.
Happy Saturday, everybody.
Happy Saturday to you. Did you have enough opportunity to regain some charge in your batteries after the whole draft wildness?
There's not enough time in the world for that in its entirety. I think it's one of those, like, you plug your phone in and you only have about 15 minutes.
Right.
You hope you just get enough charge to get you going. So, no, I had a nice break. Thank you very much. And, having the draft and the futures game and the high school All-American game all stacked up against, one after another it's a lot in our neck of the woods.
Yeah, it's probably the busiest time of the year for you, I'm sure. So vacation,
no doubt,
well deserved. Thanks for taking some time for us this morning, Jonathan. Now, Orioles, 17th overall pick in the draft. They take Enrique Bradfield Jr., outfielder out of Vanderbilt. 80 grade speed, 70 grade defense. The Orioles have the time to develop him properly, considering their outfield looks to be set and loaded for the next couple of years. But what would be his timeline in your estimation?
Well, the speed and the defense he could use right now, right, if you want to. And all it comes down to with Enrique Bradfield is impact at the bat.
Sure.
Is he going to hit enough, especially as he moves up the ladder? He has added a little bit of strength. He's never going to be a home run guy. It's really just you don't want him to be one of those the bat gets knocked out of his hands kind of guys who can only slap the ball the other way. There are enough people who see some Kenny Lofton in him to think that maybe that's what he can become. And it's not like Kenny Lofton never was a huge power guy, but he drove the ball. And I think that's what they want to see, from Enrique Bradfield. And it was a little up and down for him this year at Vanderbilt. But you can't teach that kind of speed. And it's not just, he's a good center fielder because he's really fast. He's a tremendous center fielder. So it's plus instincts, reads, and routes along with that speed. So then it's in terms of a timetable, I think it's just going to be a question of sort of strength and conditioning and, how they feel he's impacting the ball. He may, work his butt off during this offseason, show up and go to Aberdeen next year and start driving the ball to the gaps, and then it's off to the races, and he might get there pretty quick.
Is there a world where he and Cedric Mullins can be patrolling the same outfield for the Orioles?
I guess one of them would have to play a corner. Who are you going to move?
I would Cedric, I would imagine.
I think it depends on when he gets there, and it may be the kind of thing where initially Bradfield has to play a corner, and then, but I think it's one of those things you figure it out. And this is an instance where the Orioles, they have a ton of outfield depth, but they took who they thought was the best available player at the time when they picked at 17, and you don't worry about what's at the upper levels. And I think that's the right call to make. So let's say it takes Enrique Bradfield, will be like super pushy, aggressive, and he's ready in less than 2 years. We'll see what's going on with the Colton Cowsers and the Heston Kjerstads of the world, right? We don't know how they're going to be performing. Maybe somebody from that group gets traded. The Orioles are clearly at a point now where they can start to trade without ripping apart their farm system, because they'll never do that. They could start trading from some of those areas of depth at the upper levels.
The Orioles' second pick in the draft, Mac Horvath, UNC outfielder, good speed, strong arm. Questions about the bat. Emma, you all had him ranked, I believe, 87th. The Orioles took him with the 53rd overall pick. Yeah. Was that a bit of a reach for him, or is this a guy who can live up to that potential?
Yeah, listen, our rankings are clearly subjective. Both Jim Callis and I talked to a ton of people to try to build as much consensus as possible. But there is not really that much difference between 50-something and 80-something. We had him at 82nd. He could live up to that potential. One of the things that's interesting about this Orioles draft in general, even though they went like super college heavy, they drafted a lot of college guys with ceiling and question marks. It's not your typical like, oh, this guy is a college performer, kind of boring. They're all guys that have like very interesting attributes that if you can get it to click, they can end up being really good. And Mac Horvath is one of those guys. I mean, power speed combination is very exciting. And, the Orioles may have seen something in the way he does things that they think is fixable. And if they can fix it, then you're looking at a guy with really, really good potential. Is probably always going to swing and miss a little bit. Probably put him in a corner outfield. Maybe they want to let him try the dirt again, but I think those days are probably gone. But the speed, the arm, and the power, it could be a good right fielder type eventually.
Now, Kiefer Lord, he was the Orioles' third-round pick. He's the highest-drafted pitcher of the Mike Elias era. He wasn't thought of coming out of high school, had to begin his collegiate career at a Division III Carleton College before transferring to Washington. Is this another one of those guys with the ceiling question mark who has the attributes, like you were saying, where he could be a guy for them? What can we really expect out of this pick?
Yeah, for the record, Jackson Baumeister went ahead of Kiefer Lord, so he was the earliest pitcher. But your point is still well taken about Kiefer Lord, and he fits that bill exactly right. Because he, started in Division III and kind of has been a late bloomer. He was a guy. It was really tough for me to figure out. And Jim Callis and I split up the country, and I have the Pacific Northwest. And we saw Kiefer Lord's name on other lists, and we heard people talking a lot about him. And if you look at his numbers at Washington, you might be like, I don't get it. But he is 6'3", he's projectable. He's still learning. Like, he basically taught himself how to pitch, and that's where the velocity ticked up during the pandemic, and then he transferred to Washington. So I think there's still a lot that can be uncovered and unlocked with him, and I think that's why there were a lot of people that were interested. I mean, listen, he's already up to 97 at times and sat around 94. There might be a little bit more. He's got a feel to spin. He throws both a slider and a curve. Maybe he should just focus on the slider. And there's even some feel for a changeup. So you're talking a 3 or 4 pitch mix with some ceiling. So, sometimes you have to look beyond just what those stats are in college and see the individual ingredients and his background and the lack of instruction and things of that nature, and his aptitude for learning on his own. That goes a long way.
And certainly an intriguing pick. It's interesting to see the Orioles take a couple of pitchers that high. The reason I thought that he was taken before Baumeister is because he signed, and Baumeister still hasn't signed yet. But let's talk a little bit about Jackson Baumeister, who was taken in the competitive balance round B. He's a second-round pick, essentially, for the Orioles, and his college numbers aren't eye-popping, and yet there he is in the second round. What about Baumeister makes him that intriguing of a pick for the Orioles?
I think it's a similar situation. Baumeister's been on radar since high school, and I know the area scouts, it's sort of gotten a little bit tired, of him. Sometimes you get these guys who locally are thought of as sort of more famous than good because his name he was a top 100 guy on our 2021 list. And it hasn't clicked. It did at times at Florida State. Florida State was a mess this year. And I think that there's a lot to say about that because guys' roles were changed. He pretty much, stayed in their rotation. He was a reliever as a freshman. He was a starter last summer in the Cape and was one of the few constants in what had been a mess of a season for the Seminoles. Again, he can reach back for 97. He might throw harder, more consistently. As he adds strength, he's 6'4". He's got a curve. He's got like a cutter-like slider. The changeup is not as good, but he's durable. He's going to have to work on his command. But again, that's an intriguing package for a pitcher. He's got a little leverage as a draft-eligible sophomore, and that's probably why he is the one who hasn't signed yet. But I expect that he will sign, before the deadline.
Are there any picks that the Orioles made that maybe aren't thought of or talked about that could be a diamond in the rough for this organization?
Yeah, there isn't anybody in the late rounds. I mean, like they took Tanner Witt in the 18th round. He's not going to sign.
Right.
If they got that done, that would be something because he's got first round talent. He just got hurt. I think the guy that sort of jumps out at me is probably their fifth rounder, Jake Cunningham. Kind of fits the bill of what we talked about, another outfielder from UNC Charlotte. Unbelievable tools. He was hurt and played as a DH for a while, but when he's fully healthy, he can really, really run. He can play defense. He can play center field again, but there's bat speed, there's strength. He's 6'4". There's a lot of qualities there, but again, questions about the hit tool. So it's another sort of power speed combination guy who could play up the middle. And because of, as your point about Enrique Bradfield at the start, they can let him take his time to develop. And, if he doesn't get to the big leagues, 25 or whatever, so be it. But there are some really interesting raw tools there. And to get that in the 5th round, slightly under slot, that's a pretty good get.
And I'll tell you, Jonathan, the Orioles with their draft picks in this under the Mike Elias regime, there aren't many failed picks. A lot of them haven't made it to the majors yet, but a lot of them are really performing in the minor leagues, which is really nice to see. So you have the confidence that they're going to be able to develop these guys and turn them into something. And no player gives you more confidence in that than Jackson Holliday. He kind of, rose through the ranks last year to be taken number 1 overall by the Orioles. He's 19 years old, just promoted to Double-A. Collected hits in his first 4 games, including 3 multi-hit performances. Hitless the last 2 games, but that happens. How good is this kid? Could he make it to Triple-A this season? And at what point do you think he makes it to Baltimore?
Could he make it to Triple-A? Sure. And this is without looking at the Triple-A roster, and that we all know that the Orioles also have a bunch of middle infielders. So depending on who is there at the time, it may make sense just to let him finish out in Double-A.
Mm-hmm.
When you've got, depending on where Jordan Westburg is, Joey Ortiz, Connor Norby, you have all these guys. You got Kobe Mayo playing third base now in Triple-A, right? So, or he can play first base also. So there's a limited amount of spots. So you're not going to move him just to move him.
Sure.
If you're going to move him, it's for him to play mostly shortstop. Maybe you fold in some third base if that's what you want to do. So I don't think there'd be any harm with him staying put. It's not a sign that they don't think he's ready. I think it's just, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Listen, the way he's been performing, if it were another organization, another time, he could be up in September. I don't think he would be in over his head. He can do a lot of things well, even if he's not swinging the bat that well to help a team win. But I think we're looking at some point next year, depending on how many games he's played. I wonder if they just let him stay in Double-A, they send him to the fall league, and then they use that as a springboard to getting him ready for Baltimore for next year. And yes, I am planting that seed into the universe because I really want to see him play in the fall league this year.
I want to see that guy play as much baseball as possible. He is such a talented kid, and it's just crazy. It's crazy, 1, to think about how far he's come so quickly, and 2, to think that apparently he's not even the best player in his own family. Apparently his younger brother Ethan is an animal.
He's a beast. We'll have to wait and see. Ethan is definitely more physical. He's bigger. There's more now power that you'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson may be a slightly better athlete, but it's close. It's close. I tried to get Jackson to say that Ethan's the better player, and he won't quite go there, which is good. The best thing I heard though was during the Futures game, Ken Griffey Jr. sort of sidled up next to Matt Holliday and said, "So, what's it like to be the 3rd best Holliday in the family?"
That is so funny because he's a 7-time All-Star, multi-time Silver Slugger. I loved the Jackson Holliday pick because when I was younger, I wanted Matt Holliday in Baltimore so badly. Became a free agent a couple of times, and they never pulled the trigger on it. So to have his son, it's going to be awesome. I'm super excited. The fan in me is super excited. So, and everybody who follows the Orioles should be excited because he's just a great kid and a great player. Another really good player who, probably because of Jackson Holliday, may never get a fair shake in Baltimore is Joey Ortiz. 342 at Norfolk with a 403 OBP and a 974 OPS. I thought that he was going to be the Orioles starting shortstop coming out of spring training if Jorge Mateo didn't finish it strong, if Ortiz didn't get hurt. He didn't really get a fair shake in his 2 promotions to the big leagues this year. Why hasn't he gotten a fair shake this year when the opportunity was there? And is he the Orioles' biggest trade chip right now? Because in my opinion, he could be the starting shortstop for half the teams in the league right now.
Well, we know defensively, absolutely, and the bat has come around to where I agree with you. I would think there are a number of players that they could trade. It really depends on what they want to do personnel-wise and who they want to play where. We mentioned, Westberg, Ortiz, and Norby. Norby has the benefit of being able to play the outfield. Westberg and Ortiz can play multiple positions. It almost does Joey Ortiz a disservice to have him play second base because he's so good defensively. But, I think, that or, again, we've got Cowser and Kjerstad. I don't think either of them are going anywhere right now. But, you still can only play 3 outfielders at a time. So I think it's gonna depend on what the right fit is. And it may be the kind of thing where they trade a big leaguer away, a more established big leaguer to make room for some of these younger guys and bring in pitching, say, because that's, there isn't as much pitching in the system as we've discussed. So it remains to be seen. But of the prospects, Joey Ortiz probably fits that sort of free to prospect mold better than anybody.
You've mentioned Heston Kjerstad a couple of times. I didn't put him in my notes, but now I do want to ask about him. Could he be in the major leagues right now? Do you think that he factors into the Orioles' plans this season? And what kind of an impact could he make at the big league level for the 2023 Orioles?
I mean, it's hard not to think that he can. He's done everything, ever since he's returned. He's done nothing but hit. I saw him in the fall league, and he was the best, arguably the best player there, MVP, and playing with a joy that makes sense given, what he had to go through and the myocarditis. And, it's amazing to see when the young players think that maybe the game's going to be taken away from them. But it's the fall league, and you take that with a grain of salt. It's hitter friendly, and he just has kept doing it this year at the upper levels, and has, arguably been better in AAA than he was in AA, where he was pretty good. So he's close to 1,000 OPS in Norfolk. I think he could compete in the big leagues right now. It's, again, a question of opportunity. You don't bring him up for him not to play every day. That said, if it's September and they're trying to decide and they want a left-handed bat to come off the bench and fill in, in the outfield or DH or something like that, he would be maybe one of the first guys that I would call upon if they feel that they need, something like that to help them down the stretch as they look towards the playoffs.
Well, he's certainly an intriguing player, ready to see what he can do at the big league level. But he's blocked, whether they have him play first base, the outfield, or DH. The Orioles have a number of guys that fit that mold who are big leaguers and producing. So it could be a while for no other reason, through no fault of his own. Jonathan, always great when we have you on the show. Before we let you go, you've recently written a book. It's called Smart, Wrong, and Lucky, The Origin Stories of Baseball's Unexpected Stars. Tell us a little bit about this book and where people can find it.
You can find it wherever you find books, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. I'm a big fan of, the local independent bookstores, so check to see if they can order it for you. The one in my neighborhood, is getting it, stacked in because I stopped in, so you can order it through them. But the basic premise is, we've spent a lot of time talking about the guys that the Orioles have taken at the top of the first round because that's where they've been drafting. But we all know that not every baseball superstar in the big leagues comes from the top of the first round. And, I spend a lot of my time talking to scouts, and they all have stories, often of guys that they missed on. But this is a story. These are all stories, mostly through the eyes of scouts, of guys that they hit on in the later rounds who ended up being much better than even they expected. And they're all too smart and have been humbled by the game too much. So they would never say, oh, I knew Albert Pujols was going to be a Hall of Famer, or I knew Jacob deGrom when we took him in the 9th round was going to be the best pitcher on the planet for a number of years in the National League. So it's all guys like that who went later on and then far exceeded what their expectations were to become some of the game's best stars. So it's kind of their how they were scouted and discovered.
It sounds like a really fun read and a book that any baseball fan should own. I'm actually going to order my copy sometime this weekend.
Excellent.
I was reading the description. I was like, man, I got to read this book. It sounds super cool and super fun. So, what do you got coming up on the websites this week?
We're still reporting draft signings. I think the signing deadline's coming up, and soon thereafter we will be doing a full re-rank of our top 100 and all our top 30 lists to fold in all the draft guys. So stay tuned in a couple weeks. We'll figure out where Enrique Bradfield Jr. figures it into a very, very deep Orioles top 30.
Excellent. Jonathan, thank you so much for taking some time for us. I can't wait to talk to you again here down the line. We're going to plug that book for you again here. Smart, Wrong, and Lucky, The Origin Stories of Baseball's Unexpected Stars. Go and pick that book up anywhere you find books. Go to your local bookstore, a little mom and pop shop if you can, and support local business. Jonathan, thanks so much, man. We'll talk to you down the line, all right?
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Take care. That was Jonathan Mayo from MLB.com and MLBPipeline.com joining us to recap some of the Orioles draft picks and talk a little bit about their current homegrown talent that's really starting to flourish at the upper levels of the minors and in the major leagues. Always great to talk to Jonathan Mayo. Always great when you can pick up the latest edition of Press Box, which is available now. On the cover, Dave Ginsburg remembers Goose as he looks back on the impact the late Tony Saragusa had both on and off the field in Baltimore. Plus, he explains how Goose's kids are working to continue that legacy with the Goose Flights program. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles the path Tyler Wells has taken to becoming a star in the Orioles rotation, and you'll find a special summer travel guide with information about events and activities throughout the state. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. You can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com. We got to catch our final break. When we come back in, take to rake and final thoughts. That's next on the Batter Round.
Catch that festival feeling in Charm City. Everywhere you go, you'll find exciting entertainment, delicious eats, and endless summertime fun. Cheer on the O's at Camden Yards, pick crabs by the waterfront, beat the heat inside a world-class museum, and make memories that will last a lifetime. Go to baltimore.org for more information and to plan your visit.
Maryland drivers, did you know you can save up to 77% on tolls with an Easy Pass Maryland discount plan? That's right, 77%. It's never been easier. Pick the plan that's right for you at driveezmd.com. We'll keep you moving.
The All-America Senior Game powered by New Balance will be back at Johns Hopkins Homewood Field on July 29th. The most decorated girls and boys lacrosse players in the country have been invited to play in what is the premier lacrosse event of the year. Every college coach wants their players in this game, and if you dream of being in this game, you start by trying out for one of your regional underclass teams this summer. The best against the best. Get your tickets now at allamericalacrosse.com.
It's another exciting weekend of affordable family fun at Prince George's Stadium with the Bowie Bay Sox. Weekend starts on the 21st with our Bowie Pit Beef Night. Come on out and grab a bite. Back-to-back fireworks carry on to Saturday with the Island Luau, a free Bay Sox Hawaiian shirt to the first 750 fans. And it closes on Sunday with Heroes Day. Bay Sox jerseys auctioned off to support local charities. Get your tickets now by calling 301-805-6000 or anytime online at baysox.com. The Bowie Bay Sox. Let us be your 9-inning vacation.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand.
Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org.
It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Dave Ginsburg remembers Goose as he looks back on the impact that late Tony Saragusa had both on and off the field here in Baltimore. Plus, he explains how Goose's kids are working to continue that legacy with the Goose Flights program. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles the path Tyler Wells has taken to becoming a star in the Orioles rotation. And you'll find a special summer travel guide with information about events and activities throughout the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Your summer destination is closer than you think at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. With an expansive gaming floor and incredible dining options ready for you to explore, your adventure awaits. Dine at the new Coho Korean Barbecue House coming in July or on the patio at the Prime Rib. Enjoy the summertime breeze at Orchid Smoking Patio. Limited time packages starting at $229. What are you waiting for? Book now. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Welcome back into the Batter Round. Really nice show today. Really nice day today. I walked outside. Yeah. It wasn't humid. It was like 73 degrees. I was like, oh, it's a perfect day. Watch, I'll walk out there. It'll be hotter than the devil's taint outside. But
wow, that's a wild
But for now, it looks beautiful outside. The other night I came home, I was what the hell was that? Oh, I went to hang out at my buddy Adam's house on Wednesday night, and I came home and I'm driving and I stop off at Redner's because I was trying to find this. There is a seasoning called Tajin. Tajin.
Okay.
I tried it. We have it at Baco for some reason. And I tried it last week. I just put a little bit on my hand and licked it, and it was
okay.
It was phenomenal. It was like Old Bay with lime. It was absolutely fantastic. I can't find it anywhere. I cannot find it anywhere.
Amazon, man.
So I stopped. Yeah. But I want it when I want it. I don't want to wait for the delivery. But if I had ordered
Amazon does like 1 day delivery these days.
I know, but
like
if I had ordered it on Wednesday, I'd already have been enjoying it by now. But I really want to have it on a potato chip.
Okay.
I really feel like a potato chip.
Like a plain potato chip.
I think that a potato chip company should make a Tajin flavored chip.
Okay.
My coworkers at Baco told me that Lay's does. They do not. I looked it up. Lay's does not make a
Never heard of that.
potato chip.
Oh, it's just better anyway.
I'd never heard of it till last week. It was delicious. It is so good. I have to have it. I'm gonna have to stop somewhere today on the way home and try to see if I can't find it.
There you go.
Absolutely phenomenal seasoning. But that's why I stopped off at Redner's and I got out of the car, and it was like, it ended up pouring its butt off that particular night. But when I got out of the car, it was just like a perfect summer night to me. It was like, it was warm, but not stupid warm and not stupid humid. It was warm and it was humid, but it was like, it was just a perfect July night. And it brought back memories of like when I used to be like a camp counselor, and you would like the nights were yours to do whatever you wanted. It was just beautiful weather out all the time. It just, for some reason, it just was a very like nostalgic moment for me.
Serene.
Yes, it was very serene. It was a gorgeous night. That's why I love spring and summer and hate the winter. You don't get nights like that in the winter.
I disagree.
You don't get
winter's the best, man. I love it. I can't
sucks.
wait.
Fall,
I'm so excited.
I like fall nights because you can be in a hoodie and just hang out outside, and it's cool.
Yeah.
Winter is it's awful.
No.
What's the opposite of the devil's taint? Is it like
the devil's taint?
Is it like a snowman's grundle? I don't know. That's winter. It sucks. Winter sucks. Unless you live in a place where you can ski and take advantage. And we didn't get any snow this past year.
We did not. No.
I loved. My wife hated it because we never got to see our
I skied 26 times. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
and then.
Yeah, but you, who has time for that? 22-year-olds have time for that.
Seniors in college.
38-year-olds that work 6 days a week don't have time for that. Yeah. So, but I digress. Nobody gives a crap about this. Take to rake. I took Cedric Mullins last week. He got hurt the day that I took him. So, yeah, thanks, Cedric. Zach, you took Gunnar Henderson. Luke took Jordan Westberg. I have the numbers here. Gunnar Henderson, 240, 310, 680, 990 OPS. He had a double, 2 triples, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts.
That sounds like it's going to get her done.
6 for 25. Jordan Westberg, 235, 235, 294, 529. He had 4 hits, a double, and an RBI. I cannot believe. No walks and 6 strikeouts. I cannot believe for all the home runs Jordan Westberg has hit over the last 2 years, he has none yet.
Yeah, I was going to say that earlier in the show because you mentioned someone else's power not really showing up yet. And that's a great example of it. He has not yet hit a home run.
And the crazy thing is I've watched him now twice in the last week get a base hit off a ball that he had no idea where it went off the bat.
Yeah.
The one was a looper to left against the Twins, and the one was a looper to right the other night against against the Rays. He hit the ball and had no idea where it was.
Yeah.
And he's gotten 2 base hits out of that.
Well, good for him, I guess. But
yeah, so Zach, you win. Take the rake. You know the rules. Can't take Gunnar. Who you got?
Ooh. I'd love to take Rhino Herm, but I don't know. He's been a little colder as of late.
Still tearing the cover off the ball. Exit velos
are
up there.
I'm trying to think of a guy who's been hot over the past few weeks. I know. I mean, Gunnar has been really. Gunnar's one of the few. I'm thinking hard about this. I guess give me Rutschman. I don't know.
Adley Rutschman.
Give me Rutschman.
You got to write these down. Remember, this is your job
That's
now.
my job now.
See, I'm torn. The obvious choice is Gunnar Henderson. He might be the best player on the team right now. That's the obvious choice. And then the dark horse choice for me would be Colton Cowser because he's going to break out of this in a big way sooner than later. I got to take Gunnar. I can't leave Gunnar out there. He's he just snapped a 16-game...
Rutschman and Gunnar. Sounds good.
He just snapped a 16-game on-base streak last night by going 0 for 4. That dude, he hit his first homer off a lefty the other day, and it was a shot, 431 feet. It's funny because when he hit it, but it's weird how you can look at a ballpark. You've watched enough games at Camden Yards that you generally know the distance on a home run based on where they hit it.
Yeah.
And where he hit it, I said, that ball was 432 feet. Yeah. It was 431.
Pretty impressive.
Just based off of where he hit it. He's the best player on the team.
Yeah.
He's been leading this team offensively for the better part of 2 months now. Gunnar Henderson is my pick for Take the Rake this week. So Gunnar Henderson for me, Adley Rutschman for Zachary, Alan Goodman. Finally, before we get out of here, final thoughts. Zach, you can go first for your final thoughts if you want.
My middle name's not Alan. We'll start there.
Do you hate that I call you that? I just do it.
I don't hate it. I'm not offended. My final thought is going to have to do with what we're doing tomorrow. Paul, I'm gonna, for the first time we've ever played together, I'm gonna beat you in golf. I'm gonna beat you.
You probably will, man. I suck right now. I've barely played since the golf trip at the end of May.
I haven't played much either.
The last time I played, I struck the ball pretty well. I'm not confident in my putting. But I'm confident enough in my irons. I don't know. Last year, you text me after you shot an 89.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah.
And you were like, I just broke 90. I shot 89 in Geneva, no mulligans.
For context, I had only been playing golf for a year and a half, so I was pretty happy about that.
Even without context, most people cannot break 90 in golf, and Zach hasn't been playing that long. And I thought to myself, I was like, that's awesome, man. And I thought to myself, he's going to be better than me at golf, but not today. Not today. My next round, I went to the Wetlands, and I shot an 82.
Yeah. So we are playing at the Wetlands, and I've never played well there. I've played there twice, one time with you and one time with my brother, I think, and neither time has gone well. So I don't know that course as well as the courses I usually play. I'm always usually one of 2 courses that are right near my house. So tomorrow at the Wetlands, that's going to be interesting. You might have me just because you know the course better as well. That's going to help.
I'd never play well there either. I shot an 82 there last year.
That's pretty good.
I've shot in the 30s on the back 9 a couple of times there. But this year when I've played there, I have yet to play well. And and the thing is, when I start playing poorly, I kind of melt down.
Same here.
You know what I mean? So it's I don't know. I'm just looking forward to getting out there, and I'm going to try and take the pressure off myself. I want to play well, but to expect to play, I would be pulling a Paul Anthony Valley Jr. MD.
MD.
move. My dad gets super mad when he doesn't play well.
Yeah.
But he doesn't work at it, and he doesn't play that often. Mm-hmm. So when he doesn't play well, it doesn't make sense for him to be upset about it.
Yeah.
I would be a hypocrite if I got upset about not playing well if I don't play well tomorrow because I don't play anymore. I play golf, but with everything going on in my life, the times are getting fewer and further between because that's just how life works sometimes. So if I don't play well tomorrow, I'm going to try not to get mad at myself because it will make no sense to get mad. But I'm still going to kick your ass. My final thought, really excited to see what's going to happen over the next week plus with the trade deadline. Every day I'm looking to see if there's any rumors because that Fujinami trade came out of nowhere for me.
Yep.
It's funny. My buddy and I were sitting there on Wednesday night talking about what moves the Orioles could make. He goes, "Oh, breaking news! Orioles trade for reliever Fujinami." I was like, "Oh, what the hell?" And ever since then, it's just like that was such like an adrenaline rush. Like, oh, they got somebody. I want to see what happens. I'm really excited.
No.
Are they going to bring a bat in? Maybe not.
Maybe.
Are they going to bring in a starting pitcher? I certainly hope so because they need one more guy. I think the bullpen actually might be okay right now. I'm very intrigued to see how Cionel Perez looks from here on out.
Yeah.
I said to somebody when he came in his first game back the other day and he was terrible, I said to somebody, I was like, I'm not judging him off of this game because it's his first game back. If his next game is like this, that's when I'm going to start judging him. And he was dominant last night. He looked like 2022 Cionel Perez. So see how he does. See how Mount Fuji does in the bullpen. What moves do the Orioles have up their sleeves? It's got to be something because they are so close, and it feels so good to say they're so close. This is an awesome time to be a Baltimore sports fan. Training camp starts next week. It's about to get super fun in Baltimore for the next several months. So it's already been fun. Thank you so much for tuning into the Bat Around today. Thank you to Orestes Destrade. Always love talking baseball with O on the show. Awesome to have him on. Thank you to Jonathan Mayo. Another great segment. I love talking to Jonathan Mayo. He's just a good dude to speak with. All the guys over at MLB Pipeline, him, Jim Callis, just great guys to talk with and super nice and personable. So thank you to him for coming on. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Without you, we don't have a show. Thank you to all of our listeners and fans. Without you, we definitely don't have a show. Guys, enjoy this awesome series with the Rays. Hopefully, the Orioles can get a win today to take some pressure off tomorrow. It's going to be tough against Shane McClanahan. Game starts at 4:10 today. McClanahan versus Grayson Rodriguez. Gas them up, boys. Until